Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Let's go. Boy, you're going deep, fella.
I mean, that's why Elon Musk is a success.
Why?
Because he smoked weed on this show.
I don't think that's true.
That's right.
That's like what high school kids
That guy's
think.
got a lot of money, and I saw him smoke weed on this show.
That's what happened, bro. That was the root of it all. I almost got him fucking removed from NASA top clearance.
That's crazy, dude, that you would have to... It's
Meanwhile,
crazy
we
how...
were drinking whiskey for like 2 hours before we hit
I
that
know.
blunt.
That's wild how slow that aspect, because weed's so legal in so many places,
Yeah.
you forget that it's not legal still.
Well, it was legal in California. That's what he asked me. He goes, "It is legal." I go, "Yeah, it's legal here."
Yeah, but it's not... There's California law, and
Yeah.
then there's...
State law.
Yeah.
Federal law, rather.
or
Yeah.
also like corporate... like investor confidence law, I guess, is what
Well, this
he's
is
violated.
NASA. NASA had an issue with it, so it's government.
Yeah.
Because it's marijuana still, very unfortunately, is still federally Schedule 1,
Yeah.
which means it has no medical benefits, which is hilarious because I'm pretty sure cocaine is Schedule 2 because cocaine has medical benefits.
Because of the throat, right? Like Elvis would get it for his throat on cotton
Is that what he was
swabs.
saying? The
No,
colonel?
well, I mean, officially, that's why they would give it to him. I was watching
Oh,
his entourage, like the guys from his entourage.
We need to get Elvis some cocaine for his throat.
It was like this medical grade, the kind Robert Evans got busted trying to get, the pure like
Oh.
liquid cocaine, and they would just dip these cotton swabs in it, and you stick them, and they would just sit there and be ripped for hours. He said on liquid. It was for his throat.
Well, if it would numb it, because they had, like, I had lidocaine on my
Yeah,
nose, which is like a cousin of cocaine, I guess. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting about it, fucking killed my appetite. Like, I tried to go to
Yeah,
dinner afterwards. I was like, God, I don't want to eat anything. I know
Yeah.
I'm hungry. I had this delicious steak in front of me, and I couldn't eat it.
Oh yeah, right.
Because the lidocaine, like, it was still in my throat. I could taste it. It was like, ugh.
Isn't that like a similar? What's that movie?
It numbs everything. But it doesn't get you high, but it does get you feeling weird. You don't
Yeah.
feel like you're not in any way like high, but you're like weirded out. I think he gave me like a heavy dose too because he had to clean out my nose and
How did he apply
fix
it?
my septum. I don't know. I don't remember because they put me under. I don't remember if it was injections. I don't remember what happened. Because I had to go out for that because it was pretty serious. I had to fucking get in there and shave down your turbinates.
Oh, I didn't even know this was called.
Yeah, there's like these bumps in the middle. My nose was fucked. And
From
so-
getting hit or just?
Oh, well, from everything. I fell down a flight of stairs when I was 5 years old. So I
Really?
remember, yeah, there's a little photo of me with a black eye when I was 5. I remember I just slipped and fell down a cement flight of stairs
Jesus Christ.
in my backyard when I was 5. Smashed my nose. And so I think from then on, I never had a good nose. I think it was pretty fucked up from then on. I was a literal mouth breather until I was 40. And then I got my nose fixed.
Yeah, no, but
Oh my God, it was the greatest thing ever. I was like,
I just always had huge nostril capacity myself. So
well, a lot of guys start out with huge nostril capacity, but if you get hit there enough, a lot of wrestlers and very much boxers, they get their nose smashed. MMA fighters get their nose smashed.
yeah, right.
They all have stuffed up noses.
Remember Randall Tex Cobb?
Yeah.
It looked like somebody just spread
Oh,
his
my
nose
God.
like butter onto his.
Meanwhile, Artie Lang probably has the most impressive broken nose I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
Artie's is collapsed,
yeah, that's a crazy story. I just talked to him not that long ago.
He's the best.
I love that dude so
I
much.
love him so much. He's such a good, like when you're around him, you just want to hug him.
Yeah,
He's just
dude.
such a good, he's always been that way too. I've
He
known
used
that
to
guy
do,
for 20 plus years.
Yeah, he's one of if you. We used to do me and Sherrod's old podcast, Raise Wars, and he'd give me a ride back to Washington Heights, and it was like the funniest. It's like the funniest dude to hang out
Yes.
with that I ever met. Yeah,
Oh, his fucking stories, they're so good. And even when he sobered up, they were just as good, if not better. Like I did I did a podcast with him. We used the Skank studio.
right.
Legion of Skank Studio. Thanks to them for that because it was pretty awesome of them to let me borrow their studio. So we did Artie in there, and Artie was like stone cold sober for like over a year, like confident that he's like gonna keep it together. He had a guy with him helping him.
Yeah.
He was on the ball,
Yeah,
ball.
right.
His fucking stories were sharper than ever.
Yeah, right.
Sharper than ever. It's like you would think. Sometimes you think like if a guy sobers up, because some guys do. They sober up and then they get boring.
Yeah, right.
You know, something happens. They lose that wildness.
No, he doesn't.
Not at all.
Yeah, it brings it down to a manageable.
You know who else got really better after they got sober is Attell.
Yeah.
Attell was always amazing. He was always
Yeah.
a great comic. But
Yeah.
being healthier because like he has more energy.
He just stopped. I remember that.
Just stopped.
When he stopped drinking. I'm like, really? That was like a whole.
Yeah. But I think you get captured by a thing that you're known for too. Because remember Insomniac, he would get hammered in every town. It was a fucking great
he told
show.
me it was like impossible to do without people throwing like ice cubes at the at the production. Like,
Did you ever see it? You ever
yeah,
watch it?
I loved it when it came out, and I didn't know about how production, like the logistics of a show revolving around being drunk out at night. What a nightmare that must be.
Every fucking bar you go to
Oh
is
my
just filled
God.
with hammered people.
You have to be drunk to do it because
Yeah.
if you're sober dealing with that, it's like being waterboarded. Having this conversation, I'll say anything to make this end.
Imagine if you're like a health nut and you're like running every day and eating wheatgrass juice and you have to fucking hold the camera for that show.
Oh. Yeah, when I remember I didn't drink for like 5 years, okay? And I remember not like I was like I must have been so obnoxious just when I was drunk because I can't stand everybody that was drunk around me. You're not at the
Yeah.
same speed anymore, and
Right.
it gets like annoying.
That's what it is. You're not at the same speed.
Yeah.
And you think everybody's on your speed. When
Yeah,
you're
right.
drunk, you think you're making sense. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, Kurt, listen to your voice." Guys, fucking guys, you guys are the best.
Yeah, right.
So dumb. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. But while it's happening, it's so fun.
Yeah,
So
as
fun.
long as everybody's on board the same.
Yeah.
But
It's very fun while it's happening. But the problem is like the fucking price you pay too. Oof. Whenever I do Sober October at the end of the month, I'm like, why would I drink again? I'm like, I feel
Do you drink
so
a lot?
good. I enjoy alcohol, my friend. I enjoy a glass of whiskey. I enjoy a glass of wine with dinner.
You know what I've been
enjoy it.
drinking?
I like a margarita.
yeah, those are good. I was like here and there doing. I didn't quit because I was like I feel like I had a drinking problem. I was like, I had an OxyContin problem. I didn't have a drinking problem. But Ryan Long got me into White Claw. I've been drinking White Claws.
That's
People try to
hilarious.
shame me too about it, and I don't give a shit.
Ryan Long's a funny dude.
I love that dude.
He's a funny dude. I hung out with him at the Vulcan.
Did you? I
Funny
forgot
dude.
when you brought up Legion's Gangs. Did you watch Soder doing Chappelle and
No.
pranking that Fox News producer for Tucker?
No.
Dude, it
Does
came,
Soda do like a Wicked Chappelle impression?
it's a good impression, but I could hear Soder. But it's so hilarious. So I saw it come on my feed, and I didn't know what it was. I was like, I don't want to listen to the whole podcast. But Jake called me and told me what the clip is. So I guess a producer from Tucker Carlson, because Chappelle, was on
Yeah.
SNL. And
Right.
I don't know why, but she's at Gas Digital. So Dave Smith, you have Dave Smith on, right?
I love Dave Smith.
So Lewis was up in Dave. He's like, you really should have Dave Smith on because he really talks about this stuff.
Oh, yeah. He knows his shit.
And Lewis kept recommending him to her. And she goes, oh, you have his number? He goes, yeah, he'd love to do it. And she she starts texting Dave Smith like, it's such an honor. All this like a little overly.
Jesus.
Where Dave's like, wow, this girl's really into Dave Smith. So they figure out she thinks he's Dave Chappelle for some reason.
How?
Well, that was a lot of the mystery was like how you would mix that up. It turned out Lewis had said something that let her, like they went back and Lewis realized from text that
Oh, no. So he just flubbed a text?
he told her like Dave is the closest thing I have to a brother about Dave Smith, but she thinks it's
Oh,
Chappelle.
my God.
So
Oh,
they-
no. Because
Yeah.
if Dave is like one of those guys like Eddie. You could say Eddie. Everybody knows you're saying Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, right.
Right? If you say Dave, like I say it all the time. I
She-
say Dave.
I
I don't
can't-
even have to bother saying Dave Chappelle.
I don't remember. Well, around Gas Digital, Dave Smith. You say Dave, it's
Yeah.
probably gonna be Dave Smith, but it's something. Lewis went and checked his text, and that's how he realized that. Okay, so then they get Soder. They call Soder to call her up as Chappelle, so it's on mute for the podcast. And I think his whole thing is he's gonna use the name Louis J. Gomez in every sentence that he says to her.
That's hilarious.
yeah.
That's hilarious.
Is that where his
Dave Smith, by the way, is one of the most knowledgeable political guys
Yeah.
I've ever talked to.
I just did a thing with him. With,
He knows
yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
Like, has Jimmy ever had him on?
They're trying to now. Actually,
Oh, that would be a perfect fit.
yeah.
Yeah. By the way, you're hilarious on Jimmy. It's very fun. It's very fun. I'm glad he's got you doing that now. It's such a great move because it really puts levity to all these crazy fucked up stories.
It's better that if I'm in the studio too. If I was doing it remote and it's not as good. There's something about being
There's a lag.
Yeah.
Well, you don't feel each other's vibe.
Yeah, right.
That's a real thing.
I smoke so much more. I mean, I always smoked a lot of weed, but so much more now because of being informed. I hate it. I mean, I really, but I don't know. I enjoy being there. That's one of the few. I think I couldn't watch any more regular like news for like a few years.
It's hard. It's hard because you got to run everything through a fucking filter. Like what are you trying to sell me? What's actually going on?
Yeah,
and why are there so many pharmaceutical commercials?
Yeah, and there's this, especially like friends of mine that had, I was hooked on Oxycontin. Now I didn't get tricked.
How did you get hooked on it?
I knew it was heroin when I did it.
So you did it for fun?
I had a legit prescription at one point from hurt my back, and then
the old hurt my back.
Yeah, and I had like a Percocet, right, which still has I guess the Tylenol in it, and then they were just around. Like I could get my hands on them, the blue ones.
Oh.
So I started taking those. So I wasn't one of the people that they said it's not addictive to.
You knew.
Yeah, by that time everybody knew it was drugs. So I don't blame it on like the Sackler family tricked me, but they did. Remember breakthrough pain?
Yeah.
So that I guess that's you have a tolerance to heroin, and
it's called breakthrough pain.
Yeah, they call it like, ooh, the pain somehow broke through.
You just need a higher and higher dose.
Yeah, that breakthrough term is a marketing term. I didn't know that. Like that's what a breakthrough infection is. That's not a medical. That's a marketing thing.
They tricked America into getting hooked on heroin. Can you imagine that? When we were kids, okay, like in high school, for example, when you heard about like a rock star who did heroin, like when I heard about, I guess it was a little after high school, but Kurt Cobain, I was like, oh, God, he's doing heroin? Doesn't he know? Like, doesn't he know?
That was in my high school. I remember thinking that because I didn't do anything. I was a Jehovah's Witness. I didn't drink or do,
But like, what was the numbers back then of people who actually did
I
heroin
found out
versus
later,
now?
Years later, I found out a whole bunch of people on heroin in my high school because Tom's River. Remember the Pizza Connection, all that shit?
Yeah.
Like really pure heroin was coming in through Tom's River.
Wow.
So High School North was the more heroin high was like the nickname of it. And that was a little bit richer kids, and that was way more of a thing there. But it was at my school too.
I was very innocent when it came to drugs because most of my high school years I spent doing martial arts.
Yeah.
And so I really didn't party at all. But my boxing coach when I was 20 was this guy who was a longshoreman.
Oh, crack? He smoked crack?
Oh, no. He didn't do anything. He drank a little bit, but big Irish guy.
Okay.
And great fucking guy. But he worked with a guy that was a heroin addict. And I go, he's a heroin addict. He still has a job. He goes, yep. He goes, every day at lunchtime, he goes to this guy. He gets his bag. He sits in his car. He shoots it up. He sits in his car for an hour, and then he goes back to work. I go, no fucking way.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, and he's fine. He goes, but he needs it. He's got to get it every day. But if he gets it every day, he's very functional. I'm like, that's nuts. I'm like, how many guys are like that? But he knew a bunch of people who did heroin. I was like, you know a bunch of people that do heroin? Like, who the fuck's doing heroin? Whereas now, if you hear, oh, my uncle's on pills, like, another one. It's another one. It's another one. I mean, how many of our friends?
Taking the needle out of it really takes some stigma away, I guess. And also having it prescribed by a medical doctor.
Schaub had it, and people had to take it from him. His friends had to take it from him.
What do you mean?
Before I knew him well. He got hooked on pills.
Oh, right.
He had oxy problem. He got his nose shattered in one of his big fights. I think it was Mirko Krokop. Hit him with an elbow in the nose. This guy from Croatia is like one of the most murderous kickboxers of all time. Schaub actually knocked him out. It was like Schaub's biggest win as a professional.
Well, he got elbowed in the process of doing that.
Yeah, he got his nose shattered in the process. So he got his nose fixed. I'm pretty sure it was that fight. He got his nose fixed, and then in getting his nose fixed, they got him hooked on the pills. And he was just taking them. Like months after the surgery, still taking them. And his buddies pulled him aside.
You get a tolerance pretty quick.
But it's also one you're not supposed to just get off, right? You're supposed to wean yourself off that shit, right?
Well, you won't. It's not like
no, actually, that's
benzos. You could die.
Benzos, you
Opiates,
could die.
you think you're gonna die, but you're not. It's.
Should you wean yourself off? Do they
I
if they
did.
medically do it? Like if you went check
You get-
yourself into a rehab and said, "Hey, I have an OxyContin addiction."
Well, I didn't even have to do that. They prescribed me Suboxone to quit it.
Right,
And
but if
even,
they, what I'm saying is like if you went like straight, like you were fucked up and you went straight to a rehab center.
Yeah.
Like would they wean you off of it or would
They
they
give you
give you
Suboxone.
They give you Suboxone.
Yeah.
And what is that stuff? I've heard people
like a
talk about
film.
that.
It's a little orange film, and it. But you have to be. Oh, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name. He took it. You're friends with him? He's got a beard and he's psychedelic. What's his name? I'm totally blanking.
Duncan?
Jesus.
Beard psychedelic. Oh,
I'm like, yeah. I was really reaching.
That's that real weed. That's what that is.
Is it indica?
That's real shit. No,
Go. Thank God.
Jesus. What
I
you
only like
savage?
productivity weed.
Yeah,
But he.
I don't know if that's real, by the way.
Ari told me a story about him where he was somewhere and he was taking, he took some Suboxone after he had done, Oxy or something, and he got real sick and didn't know what. So the stuff knocks it out of your system immediately, the naloxone or something when you take it. So you're supposed to be in withdrawal before you take it. So you have to wait until you're sick,
Oh wow.
and when you really feel sick, and then you can take it, because if you don't wait and you still have that stuff in your system, it kicks you into withdrawal immediately.
Now, is there a concern with people getting on Suboxone? Is it because I remember
Yeah.
methadone
Yes.
when we were?
They'll keep you on it forever, by the way, if you want.
Yeah, that was the thing when we were playing pool back in the '90s. That my friend Johnny B used to call these people the methadonians. They would come in from the methadone clinic.
Yeah.
And so there would be like a methadone place that was right down the street. And they would go to this methadone place, they'd get their fix, then they'd walk over and come to the pool hall. And
Yeah,
they'd just
right.
be like slack-jawed, knocking balls around. And Johnny called them the methadonians.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
And then they figured out at one point to take Xanax with it, and it almost feels like heroin, apparently.
Oh, really? Together?
Yeah. There's an HBO documentary about it,
Oh, boy.
like a few years back. And
But they said that methadone's terrible for you.
yeah, I think that stuff's probably even more.
It's probably worse than heroin. Is methadone
withdrawal
bad
from that?
for you? Withdrawal from
Well,
methadone's worse?
The withdrawal from Suboxone
Yeah.
felt worse than the withdrawal from the Oxy.
Really?
If I had just cold turkeyed that would have been a less horrible withdrawal.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was taking.
How long were you taking Suboxone for?
I don't know, like maybe almost a year, maybe not even. But I was down. I was weaned down to the tiniest bit of it because I was really like.
And even the tiniest bit when you got off it completely, you had
It
horrible withdrawals.
sucked, dude. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So you tapered.
Yeah, I tapered. I didn't like.
Now, is that similar to methadone? Like, is methadone supposed to be really bad when
I've
you try to get off
I've
of it
never
too?
taken methadone. I don't know what it's like, but from what I get now, it's mostly Suboxone. I don't know if anybody's still taking methadone, but I don't
I'm
really
very
know.
ignorant to methadone. What exactly is methadone?
It's what I just know it is with the thing they used to give you
Right.
before they had
They,
Suboxone.
they give people when
Because
they
it
were hooked on
blocks
heroin.
opiate. I forgot. Suboxone, part of it blocks you. I think methadone's supposed to do that too, but it blocks you from being able to get high if you relapse.
Oh,
So there's no
Jesus.
reason to take more. Like
Unless you just get off that fucking Suboxone.
people get high off Suboxone too, but I didn't get any high off it. I just didn't feel like sick when I was using it.
We had a guy on a long time ago that was he worked in a rehab center, and he said a lot of it was a scam. And he said they would get you hooked on their stuff, and their stuff was Suboxone.
It does start to feel like that. When
But
you do.
if they have you hooked on it and you're not getting high, like what is it doing?
Keeping you for like heroin.
Like say you're not getting high on heroin anymore, and
I just
Suboxone
couldn't
doesn't make you
function.
high. So you have to take it to function.
that guy
to
you're
get
talking
off
about that goes on his lunch break. That sounds
Mm-hmm.
like he was doing just what he needed to feel normal.
But is this the case with everybody? Because that sounds insane to me that you would have to be on something for a full year to get over something that, like, what would it normally be? Like, if you were on those oxys and you quit cold turkey and had horrible withdrawals, how long would you feel like shit for?
Well,
Be a week, a month?
so that's probably a week or less, just the shitty feeling. But then you're not going to be right for a couple of months. As far as
Couple
like
months.
that's what I've experienced.
And, like, what was that? Like, when you say weren't right, what do you mean by that?
Just like an off, you're burning out, whatever that. I don't know what that receptor is, but
The good one.
yeah.
The one that makes the heroin.
I beat on it quite a bit, so it probably, benzos is worse, dude. I think that's the one that
That's
like,
the one can
people,
kill you.
Well,
Right.
not just that, but I think it affects people I know that came off that, it affected them for like a crazy amount of
So
time.
for you, it was like cognitive decline, dull
No energy,
feeling,
just
no
energy.
energy.
But I wasn't really like exercising a lot at that point, so that's a
That's a
lot.
factor.
I didn't even realize how much. Just if you go exercise, like the energy, I didn't realize like how much.
Dude, I say it all the time. Nobody wants to listen because I'm a meathead. It's a real problem.
No, there's a deep anger towards the very idea.
Yeah, there's
And I
a
remember
deep
being like-
resistance towards exercise.
And I remember feeling not like I'm mad at somebody that does work out, but I remember feeling like I don't remember why, but I remember having that kind of feeling of
It's
like
defensiveness. It's hard to do. That's what it is. When you see something, when someone does something that's hard to do, also, it's connected to negative things, jocks, douchey male behavior, which I've been guilty of. But that's not all it is. Like exercise, like just non-meathead exercise, like yoga is fantastic for you.
yeah, well, just for mood stabilizing. I didn't
Yeah.
realize because the other thing is, especially the whole time I lived in New York, I don't think I was getting sun like. I think I probably have vitamin D deficiency.
Oh,
in
you
a big way.
100% do. 100%. If you're not supplementing with vitamin D and you live in like the Northeast and it's
Yeah.
the winter time, you have vitamin D deficiency.
Yeah,
From
it-
food? I mean, you don't, what the fuck, what kind of, I think you can get vitamin D from some plants, like small amounts of it from some plants. But I think primarily you get it from being in the sun, unless you're supplementing.
That's what I did first before I was like, I'm gonna actually. I was in the sun first, and it felt like I got.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best way, too. That's by far the superior way to get vitamin D. Supplementing is just a safety measure, but you should supplement vitamin D. It's really important. It's so important for your immune system.
Yeah, right.
According to Ron and Patrick and a lot of other people that know a lot more than I do about it, they say it's not even really a vitamin; it's a hormone. And
Yeah, I wonder why
yeah.
you can get it from the sun. It's a vitamin, like it.
It's pretty crazy but it is a vitamin in that you could take it in a supplemental form. But it's so beneficial for your immune system.
Yeah.
At one point in time when they were linking COVID deaths
Oh, the
with
thing
vitamin
at
D
4 times
deficiency.
higher survival rate if you had vitamin D levels. Did you see that?
Yeah, it's really high. And then the number of people that were in the ICU, the number of them, it was very high that were deficient in vitamin D.
Yeah, right.
It's just good for your immune system, and it's a mood stabilizer too for those poor people that live in Seattle. Like they need that something to fucking
The mood
juice their mood
stabilizer.
up.
That's the thing that the most I didn't realize how
Exercise.
much it would like like even out a
game
mood.
changer.
Yeah,
It's a game
It's not that I
changer.
didn't. The reason I had OxyContin in the first place was I hurt my back when I was working out, and then
Oh,
I just
really?
had So it's not like I didn't know. It felt I just hadn't done it for a long. The whole pandemic, I didn't do nothing.
When you just sit around doing nothing, you feel like shit. It's just normal. It's
Got like
just
stir crazy. Yeah,
It's like oil that's at the bottom of your engine tray, just sitting there.
Yeah.
It's not getting cranked over. It's not getting used. You just fucking feel gross, and your body doesn't know what to do. Your body's like, why aren't we doing anything? Like you have requirements. Your body wants to do things. The problem is it sucks. Like you're lazy. You get up in the morning. I get it. I fucking 100% get it. That's the thing. It's like people think that people who do work out don't feel the exact same way they feel before they work out, because they kind of do. There's most of the time when I work out, I don't want to work out.
Oh, really?
Just make myself.
I get compulsive, so I'm like how it would be with like a drug or something.
So you're just looking
I have
forward
to
to
not.
it.
That's how I hurt myself because I gotta be like. I'm not dumb now how I do it. Like I don't do any stupid shit that's gonna injure me because I'm not. I'm not going for like glory or something, but I would injure myself because I would like try to go too much or, you know.
Yeah. So that same addictive personality applies to your exercise too. You get obsessive.
Yeah, and then you know, it. But if a couple. Like a few days go by, I didn't do anything. I start to feel like a urge that I have to, you know. I feel
yeah.
like a.
Yeah,
There's
I
probably
get
a lot of
those,
mood
too.
being held. A lot of my moods are probably being held together by that.
Well, I think that's most people.
Yeah.
I think that's the way the human body functions at its most efficient is when it's in a fit condition. I think the mind works better, the hormones work better, the mood works better, the cognitive function works better, all of it works better. The problem is it's just connected to so much douchery. And then it's also hard to do, you know.
There
so
really
like,
is a eternal high school.
Yeah.
I mean, not just with that, with
Jockish.
everything.
Yeah.
Where I've never seen it more than now, too. By the way, of like a petty like. It doesn't matter what anybody's saying. It's like what lunch table do they sit at?
Right,
And
right.
do you want to be at the right table or not?
Well, fucking gyms are weird with that too, right? There's always like flexy dudes.
The one I go to is not like that. I mean, it's West Hollywood, so.
Well, you can go to a bad gym though, where like people are like very broed out, and if you're just not into that, you're just like.
I've never had anybody
all
like
screaming. And I don't mean negative towards other people that
Yeah,
are working
the
out there, which
screaming I never
definitely happens.
saw.
But sometimes people chalk up and they get fucking crazy and they push each other. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Now keep in mind, I just go there to get my dick sucked in the bathroom and I'm out. But I go every day. Sometimes I don't want it, but I do it.
Well, don't say what the gym is. But is it like an upscale gym or is it like a fucking Gold's Gym type situation?
It's not like Gold's. It's should I not say it? Well, I mean,
Don't
I
say
like
it. Don't
fine.
say it. They're gonna fucking find you.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, they're gonna find you and try to suck your dick. That's what they're gonna. That's
Oh,
what he
guys,
likes.
don't come to
That's
this.
what he likes.
No, will you ever have trainers? I just don't want to be like hard sold on a trainer because I go hike by my house and then I do like wait and I don't like have anybody even talking to me while I'm doing it.
Right. Well, there's something to that, right? It's like a meditative thing. You're just doing your work. But you definitely should talk to somebody that can show you good form. That's one of the most important
Yeah,
things.
right. Well,
Don't get injured.
When I joined, because I remember what I paid before. I forgot the biggest hassle of it is the bargaining to not get upsold on all this shit and just get a basic. So I looked up already what like the price should be because they can vary it. And then,
Right.
So I showed the dude on the thing and he's like, he had me come over and talk to him on a table and he goes, okay, so what are your fitness goals? I'm like, Jesus, my goal is never to listen to your upsells ever. I'm 46, dude. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm a
but you gotta
clown for a
understand.
living.
For some people, say
Yeah.
I'm an accountant. My wife's been getting on me. I really should exercise. It's good for my health.
Yeah, right.
And you decide to join a place that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a trainer. That's when you would sit down with that guy, you would appreciate that forethought.
Well, that's the kind of thing that is like. I know what I want, so if I
Right.
say I don't want it, and then you're trying to find a new way in, it's so
okay.
annoying.
So you told them that you don't want a trainer.
You ever do any retail where you have upsell items?
Fortunately, no.
Okay, so I used to work. I used to manage a Funko Land. It was called when I was like 19.
Is that like a kid's playhouse or
It
something?
became GameStop. It was like they merged with Electronics Boutique, so it was like buying and selling video games, right? And you could play them before you bought them. That was like a huge deal at the time. And every retail has upsell shit, so we had to sell cleaners for like the
the
old
little air things.
people would blow on their Nintendo cartridges to make them work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the cleaners work for those. I would say if you were buying an old Nintendo, that's the only way it'd probably even work.
I remember that for VCRs too, right? Head cleaners.
Yeah, people would blow on it, which is like worse. I'm already trying to sell you a cleaner. So they made them for every system, and then you get some kind of warranty with it, and you would like it's like $15, and the markup's like 200%. So you get commission, right? And then you have to hit store numbers for the district manager. Like you're expected because that's how they can be sure you're providing great service. If you don't sell this many, like 25% sales, we know you're not giving the customers great service because customers need a cleaner. So if you're giving good service, they've bought the cleaner. So it would create like this thing where there's like just fraud in every store because you gotta, if you're managing, the people that are good at this bullshit that you put up out front, and some people that are like, the non-social nerds, you have them count shit in the back. But there was always some kind of scam going on because it just created that, like, you got to hit these numbers. And it was amazing, dude. I really, I didn't know that was like how everything works. Like, everything is like, you got to hit these numbers and everybody just, do whatever
people
con
need
job.
incentive, right? That's like cops. They give cops like a certain amount of tickets they have to write every month in some places.
Yeah, right.
Which is
great.
crazy.
That's a great system. That
What
we have.
would you do if nobody sped ever? What if
It'd
nobody
be fucked.
sped? Everybody followed the rules for like 1 month. What would they do? If they really do have a quota, and I know cops have told me they have a quota, and I
Right.
know I've read publicly that that's not true.
I think it
But I
depends
don't
where you
know.
are, though.
I don't.
What
It depends
township?
Well, it depends on what's the rule and what do they actually tell you have to do. Like,
Yeah.
are they the same thing? Like, how's that
Well,
work?
Do you know
Let's find out if that's true.
what?
Because I know. I mean, maybe they stopped doing that. Do cops have quotas for how many tickets they have to write? Let's find out if that's true. So I know cops have told me they have it.
Yeah,
or
like
they
I
have had
bet
it.
you it varies a lot.
So if you have like a corrupt sheriff, it's like, listen, these motherfuckers,
It's probably not even corrupt. It's like
we're gonna get that money.
it's like just. I'm sure it doesn't even come off as corrupt. Even
You know
though
what
it's
the craziest corruption one they had?
What?
I don't know. I think they still do it in some states where if you have like 10 grand on you, they just take it.
Oh yeah, right. I
So
think
if they
that's
pull you
everywhere.
over,
Yeah.
and you're going to buy a car,
Yeah,
and
right.
you have $10,000 in cash
Yeah.
on you, fuck you, give me that, and then they spend it.
Yeah, right.
They use it for like all these police funds and all these different
Yeah,
things.
right.
They spruce up the station. Got ourselves a nice TV, boys.
Yeah.
And they don't have to give it back for a long time. Like you have to go to court for it.
Yeah, right. There's
You
a
have to
ton of
prove.
those. Wait, what's it called? There's a term for it.
I don't know. We're finding
Seizure.
Asset seizure or
asset
something.
seizure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you're going to buy like a fucking '69 Camaro, you
Yeah.
know, you got 60 grand.
Yeah.
You're like, why do you have 60 grand? You don't have 60 grand. We have 60 grand. You have a fucking court
Yeah,
case.
that's a lot of money in cash.
Yeah,
It's
fuck outta
suspicious for you
here.
to just have that.
Yeah, you're not allowed to have that. What are you gonna do?
It's probably drugs.
Probably drugs. Isn't that
Why-
hilarious? Like if you have so much money, that's how lucrative drugs are. That they assume that if you
Yeah.
have a lot of cash on you, you're selling drugs. They don't think
basic.
you're selling MAGA hats.
Basically, what I see is that it's not legal to have a ticket quota.
Regardless of the rumors, ticket quotas are a myth. In fact,
Okay, is
they're
this a
illegal in most states, but
But I've seen multiple things that say there's like unspoken evidence suggests there's an unspoken
Yeah.
thing about it.
There's always a way
There's
around.
lawsuits about quotas in California from
it's from ex-police officers.
yeah. So I don't.
Because any job, they're going to judge you by numbers on the board, right? Like,
Yeah.
how much did you?
Of course. So it's here. Quotas have been prohibited in California for 10 years, but police departments are even now facing lawsuits from their own officers alleging that ticket quotas are real.
Yeah, there's a law about it in Texas.
So maybe it's like a thing where they try. You're like, listen, man, you want to get ahead in this business?
I'm sure it is some
You got to
like.
sell the cleaner.
Yeah, I think everything is that.
Yeah.
Because there's always a rule. I always hear that about who was I watching? I was watching like it's either FBI or CIA guy, but they're talking about, or I think it was a CIA guy talking about selling coke to fund the Contras, something like that. They're like, that's illegal. Like, we're not allowed to do that. And I'm like,
Right.
the mafia, it was illegal to sell. It's death penalty if you were caught selling drugs, and yet somehow they still sold a lot of fucking drugs.
A lot of fucking drugs.
Very strict penalties, probably more strict than even agencies.
Yeah.
Everybody outsources. It's always outsourcing. That's we don't do what do you call it? Gain of function. Like was pay a guy to do it.
Yeah, we don't do it.
I'm not guilty of that.
We don't fund gain of function. We
Yeah.
fund the lab.
Yeah. So there's always a way around. Everything's. Remember when they did when they got the torture program and they went to.
Did you?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
But that was like bringing jobs back to America, kind of in a way, because you just like send somebody to a country that does do that, and then in the Second Iraq War, when they made it like legal, that was what was so creepy about that, was to make it like now we can do it.
Do you remember Michael Rupert?
No.
Michael Rupert was a friend of mine. He's a really nice guy. He's like one of the first guys to gift me mushrooms, like
Okay.
just randomly as a gift. He was a cop who busted the CIA selling crack in South Central and using it to fund the war.
Oh,
the
I know
Contras
who you're
versus
talking
the-
about, yeah.
And he called it out in a courtroom.
Yeah,
on
I saw
television.
that. I saw a video of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Michael Rupert.
Wait, is he alive still?
No.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say.
No, he wasn't. I don't think it's even suspicious. I think he took his own life. I think he was very depressed.
Yeah, I bet.
I think he was living alone in like a trailer on a farm somewhere, and he just he also was the subject of that movie Collapse. You ever see that movie?
No.
It's a wild movie, and I don't know what the original premise was, but he sits down and he smokes cigarettes through this entire film. It's just a
Yeah.
guy talking.
Yeah.
And talking about the
Oh.
imminent collapse of civilization
I never
due to
saw-
our
I know what you're talking
dependence
about.
on
Yeah.
fossil fuels, and just wild shit. I don't know how much of it was accurate, but I know it scared the fuck out of a lot of people. And it was like a really popular documentary.
I remember
It's worth
it.
watching. I
Yeah.
mean, someone would have to understand, have a knowledge of what he's saying, whether or not it's accurate. But he, for sure, this is the film. Here, play a trailer.
Experience as an investigative journalist, I've broken major scandals, going out to try and map how the world really worked as opposed to the way we were told it worked. Our map has proving deadly accurate. My economic predictions, we had it so right. In 2006, we said, get out of debt right now. Check your mortgage carefully. We issued a whole series of warnings.
It will be nothing like we have ever seen before.
Everything that we said was going to happen is taking place right now. Gold prices, Pakistan, Afghanistan, the stock market. It's not that Bernie Madoff was a pyramid scheme. The whole economy is a pyramid scheme.
Well, that sounds right.
Of course I've been
Listeners.
called a conspiracy theorist. But I don't deal in conspiracy theory, I deal in conspiracy fact. The mortal blow to human industrialized civilization will happen when oil prices spike and nobody can afford to buy that oil, and everything will just shut down. Unlike the Great Depression, we do not have infinite resources. Nothing grows forever. There is a cycle: birth, growth, maturation, decline, and death. Cars don't run. The mail stops getting delivered. Planes don't fly. Law enforcement stops working. This is all part of the collapse. If you're in a camp and a bear attacks, you don't have to be faster than the bear. You only have to be faster than the slowest camper. The challenge being faced by the human race now is either evolve or perish, grow up or die. You have to believe, not hope, not pray that there's a way out of it, and you're going to find it.
He was one of the first guests, well, you know, back when we were doing guests, first guest that I was very excited to talk to. Because, you know, as a...
When was this?
That was a while
came
back,
out?
man.
Because-
let's play this, because this is him
No,
on
okay.
C-SPAN. Play
Did
this.
you notice Variety and all the comments about how great this
Yeah.
movie is?
Yeah.
If that
Imagine today.
Today they'd be like, "This is an
Yeah.
insane."
It's colonizer
You-
talk. And
Yeah, like that's the creepiest thing is how much they would have loved that message
Yeah.
then. And now, while it eerily sounds accurate, it's like, no, this is crazy talk.
propaganda. Yeah.
Emphatically and
Can
without
you speak
equivocation.
further into the mic, sir? These mics don't seem to be...
I will tell you, Director Deutsch, as a former Los Angeles police narcotics detective, that the agency has dealt drugs throughout this country for a long time.
This is on C-SPAN in 96.
It's still there. That's where I'm playing it from.
All right. All right.
I
All right. Obviously, that is an answer for a lot of you. Now, can you please?
refer.
All right. Now, can you please?
I refer direct.
Wait. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute here. Wait a minute. If you don't like what's going on here, please leave now. No, leave. No, leave now, because there are others who do want to hear what's going on in this room. Will you please take your seats? I will come back to you as we roll back across to the center section.
Director Deutsch, I will refer you to 3 specific agency operations known as Amadeus, Pegasus, and Watchtower. I have Watchtower documents heavily redacted by the agency. I was personally exposed to CIA operations and recruited by CIA personnel who attempted to recruit me in the late 70s to become involved in protecting agency drug operations in this country. I have been trying to get this out for 18 years, and I have the evidence. My question for you is very specific, sir. If, in the course of the IG's investigations and Fred Hitz's work, you come across evidence of severely criminal activity,
Let him speak into
and
the
it's
mic.
classified, will you use that classification to hide the criminal activity, or will you tell the American people the truth?
Ooh.
All right, you want to hear the response first from Congressman Julian Dixon and then from the director. Wait a minute. From your I'm sorry, sir. I will allow the director to speak first. And
Shout out to that lady for taking control, by the
mean-
way, like a boss.
If you
Listen to
have
this.
information about CIA illegal activity in drugs, you should immediately bring that information to wherever you want, but let me suggest 3 places. The Los Angeles Police Department.
Please.
This guy's like something from Columbo.
I'm sorry. Others want to hear this answer. I am sorry. Others want to hear this answer.
It is your choice, the Los Angeles Police Department, the Inspector General, or office of one of your Congress persons from this.
I did that 18 years ago, sir, and I got shot at for it.
Wait a minute, sir. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, sir.
And
Sir, you have not gotten the mic yet. You are not. But wait a minute, then don't speak out of turn.
let me say something else. If this information turns up wrongdoing, we will bring the people to justice and make them accountable.
All right, Congressman Dixon.
Thank you, sir, for coming.
Wait a minute here. I thought you did not want to be here, but now that you are here, please let us hear and listen. Thank you very much.
Sir, I want to thank you for coming. You were at the last meeting. The staff probably had the spelling of your name wrong, but we would like to talk to you. We have been looking for a couple of days for you, and we want to. We want to make sure that you contact the committee because obviously you have some valuable information. If you want to give it to me privately, if you want to hand it to that aide where I can contact you this evening, please do it. Don't let us get away without getting a contact for you. If
Thank you,
you'd like
sir.
to pass it up to him now so everyone can see that I got it, that would be fine.
Thank you, sir. And for the record, my...
Please keep the noise down so that we can hear and we can get answers.
For the record, my name is Mike Ruppert, R-U-P-P-E-R-T. I did bring this information out 18 years ago, and I got shot at and forced out of LAPD because of it. I've been on the record for 18 years nonstop, and I'll be happy to give you, Congressman, anything that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Ruppert.
Now, if you were cynical,
Yeah.
and you're watching that, you're like, I think the CIA faked a CIA guy
Do you think they
to
did?
go in there. I mean, if you were playing 4D chess, no, I don't think
I
so.
think like
I think
nowadays
that's really who he is. I mean, I know the guy.
Yeah, I was because nowadays I forget the woman's name. What was she? What was her? Was she a congressperson?
That they said it in the description.
Because I imagine she would be having him taken out of there so he can't say anything. Like
Today.
That's crazy. She's like, hey, let him talk. Like,
Well, back then there was no internet. You got to realize, like, if someone actually had
Yeah.
information like that and people suspected it all along, obviously those people weren't shocked,
yeah, right.
right? Those people in the audience are like, "What? No way! They're
Right.
selling." They were like, "I fucking knew it."
Yeah, right.
Everyone was like, "I fucking knew it." That's what
yeah.
they were yelling out.
Did you ever talk to Rick Ross, the real dude?
Yes, the
Yeah,
real Rick Ross.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That guy's very interesting.
He was very interesting. He's the guy who was in charge of selling the drugs in South
Yeah.
Central that was funding the Contras versus the Sandinistas.
I mean, it's just such. But anyway, you outsource that, and then you have deniability
Yes.
or whatever. That's how that works.
That's how it works, and you can make so much money. Or what would you rather do? Let all these other people make money doing it? These bad people?
Yeah, somebody's
We
gotta
have to
make
sell the
that.
drugs. If
Some-
the CIA
yeah.
doesn't sell the drugs, who's going to sell the drugs?
And
Criminals.
also for a good cause.
Yeah. Imagine if that's how they've been like funding things forever.
Well,
Imagine if you found out that that's how they fund the UFO program.
Well, you know what I wonder about that, because that Bob Lazar episode was very creepy when I watched the thing.
Yeah.
But to him talking about it, it was
Yeah.
eerie to hear him talk about it.
It was very confusing Because what he's saying is so out there. You
Yeah.
don't know. I'm like, I'm definitely a fool. But am I being a fool here?
Yeah, no, that's the little eerie part of it. But then who would control, like, do you think the president gets to find out about it, or do you think it's purely...
Supposedly Nixon knew, and Nixon took Jackie Gleason.
Yeah, I know that. That's
and
a
Jackie
good story.
Gleason built a house out of the shape of the UFO that he saw, like to represent the UFO that he saw. And like the Jackie Gleason house was for sale just a few years ago. It's in like, what is it in like upstate New York? I found out about this from this dude who gave me the book Best Evidence by David Lifton. He was like a guitarist in a band. That's it. That's the UFO inspired upstate New York house. Look at his fucking house. So
Wait, that's not that big a house.
well, it wasn't that big a house because he wanted to make it like the fucking UFO. So what it was
I see.
see
Multiple properties.
Oh, I
see.
So he just
But
started
one of them
making
looked like
UFO
a
houses.
He apparently, this is the rumor. What the rumor was that Jackie Gleason got drunk with Nixon, and Nixon's like, "You want to see a fucking flying saucer?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yes." And then they flew to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, I believe
Right.
was the rumor, and they showed him like we have
Like
actually
they had freezers
recovered-
of them, right? They had them in
I don't know if
freezers?
that's real.
Oh.
I've never heard anybody say that they saw a body and have it be like 100% credible. Other than maybe that Travis Walton guy who claims to have been abducted in the 1970s. He's
Yeah.
another one of those guys. Like, if he's telling the truth. Okay, there are a number of labs we passed through before intersection. Nixon pointed out what he said was the wreckage of a flying saucer
Yeah.
enclosed in several large cases. Next, we went to an inner chamber. There were 6 or 8 what looked like glass-topped Coke freezers. Inside them were the mangled remains of what I took to be children. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's the thing I remember from this story.
So I'm conflating this with something else. So that's right. They did have fucking supposedly dead frozen ones. The revelation of the U.S. Secretary holding the corpses of dead aliens shook Gleason to the core, and he couldn't eat or sleep for weeks. After being confronted by his wife, Beverly, Gleason told her the truth about that night and swore her to secrecy, but Jackie and Beverly Gleason were already in the process of separating. The final straw in the relationship would be Beverly breaking her vow and revealing the encounter to the magazine Esquire in 1974 as a teaser for a book she was writing about her relationship with the tempestuous, hard-drinking Jackie. Oh, the wife sold him down the river.
I wonder what that article... So that article was this where this story first came out?
Yeah, I guess so. And stung and humiliated by the betrayal, Jackie stayed silent until 1986. Finally ready to talk, he invited Larry Warren, a flying saucer evangelist, author, and eyewitness to the Randall Sam... Oops. Fucking pop-ups. No, I don't want your pop-up. No thanks. Thank you. Where were we? 86. Eyewitness to the Rendell Sam Forest UFO incident to his New York home. After a few drinks, Gleason unloaded the whole unbelievable tale to an astonished Warren, who spread the story amongst his community. However, the story would end there. Gleason died a year later, having only told his ex-wife and Warren about the once-in-a-lifetime adventure with Nixon. The tale would spread like wildfire with the advent of the internet, confirming what UFO believers already knew. The government knows everything about aliens, but reveal it only to the privileged few. Huh. Okay, of course, because this is the blog of Skeptoid and not Believe Everything. Oh, this is Skeptoid that wrote this. You read on the Internoid, the story doesn't end there. In fact, there really is no story. The Richard Nixon, Jackie Gleason Dead Alien Chronicle in a glass case tale, now accepted part of UFO internet lore, is based almost entirely on hearsay, coincidence, or an imagination, and not just the dead alien children in the glass case part. Wait a minute. Why do they say that?
Wait, was the Esquire magazine?
What is their reasoning for saying that it's not true? They're saying it's anecdotal, which is obviously it's anecdotal. Scroll up a little bit more. Yeah. So it says, as critical thinkers, we can't dismiss a story out of hand because it's preposterous, but we can dismiss a story if the facts don't fit together. Aha. So let's start with the established facts. Richard Nixon, Jackie Gleason, Beverly Gleason, and Larry Warren were all real people. Beverly and Jackie Gleason were really married, got divorced in 74, 75. Jackie and Richard Nixon are friends and played golf on a few occasions. Jackie was an enthusiast about paranormal topics with a huge collection of books on the subjects. Florida is a real place. Homestead Air Force Base. Esquire is a real magazine. That's about it. A little investigation into Nixon's daily diary reveals that Nixon was in Key Biscayne on February 19, 1973 for a meeting with the AFL-CIO. He spent less than 40 minutes speaking and glad-handing with guests at Gleason's annual golf tournament at the Invery Golf and Country Club, which at most 10 minutes available to chat with Gleason about UFOs. Nothing else in Nixon's diary indicates that the president did or didn't slip a Secret Service detail and go on an alien adventure with Ralph Cramden. But that doesn't mean he didn't do it. That just means he didn't write about it in his diary. Why would he write about that in his diary? Where the story really starts to fall apart is Beverly Gleason's interview with Esquire, because it doesn't appear to exist. Interesting.
Yeah, that's
the
what I
search of
wondered.
both Esquire's archives and internet in general turned up nothing. What did turn up, however, was an article supposedly written by Beverly from the National Enquirer, dated August 16th in 1983. Discerning readers will note that the Esquire and the Enquirer have different thresholds for veracity and adjust their expectations accordingly. That's a very good sentence right there.
Yeah.
It's very well worded.
Yeah.
So it seems like there was no Esquire article, so that's bullshit.
Yeah, the Enquirer back then, I remember it being closer to Weekly World News than, because Enquirer became like celebrity gossip entirely, right? When I was a kid, I remember it having wilder stuff in it.
Okay, in short, the piece makes Jackie look like a lunatic, befitting a spurned wife writing a tell-all about her famous ex-husband, but the book wouldn't show Jack as he's never been seen before to anyone because Beverly never published it. The Gleason UFO story got picked up by a few other tabloids, but mostly faded into obscurity. So here's the thing, though. You could, for sure, imagine that his ex-wife wanted to sell a book.
Yeah.
You could also, for sure, imagine that Jackie would try to stop that book from being sold.
Yeah, right.
So there's that. Like, maybe he bought her out. Maybe, how do we know that she didn't actually write a book? Now, that's also because Nixon didn't write about it in his diary. That doesn't... If Nixon's the fucking kind of guy who likes to get drunk and take people to see UFOs, he's not going to be meticulous about every fucking thing he does all day long. And you don't think that they could hide that?
I like that back then he was on like really open about recording his racist rants and not...
But dude, back then, the fucking Lyndon Johnson used to take a shit in front of the reporters with the door open.
So you could see how big his dick was?
Well, he was just like, he didn't give a fuck. And like, he would have a conversation with, I'll have a conversation
it's like a
with
power
y'all,
move.
but I got to take a shit.
Yeah.
So he would sit there with his fucking pants down, take a shit in front of them.
Yeah.
A guy like that, whatever his fucking diary says, that's probably not all that happened. There's probably a fucking UFO in that diary somewhere.
Do you think LBJ would record that he took a shit in front of reporters?
Yeah, well, took a shit in front of reporters, just let them know how big my cock is.
That supposedly was, he had a thing with that because he had like a huge, and he would try to
They say Rodney had a giant dick too.
Dangerfield?
Yeah, and he used to do shows with a bathrobe on. Just only a bathrobe.
Really?
Naked under a bathrobe. It would go out in front of the fucking... I saw him live
How do you get the word out?
When I was a bodyguard, what was I? A security guard at Great Woods Center for the Performing Arts when I was 19, and I was backstage, and he was working there, and I couldn't believe I could actually see him. I'd look down the corridor and I couldn't believe it. It's Rodney Dangerfield. It's really Rodney Dangerfield. It was one of those things as a kid, you're like, fuck, he's right there?
Yeah.
Like as a 19-year-old, I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. I saw Bill Cosby there.
Oh, I think you told me you saw his dick.
No, I didn't see his dick. But he was wearing a fucking bathrobe. So this was during the bathrobe days. There's a part in Rodney Dangerfield's career when he had just made it and didn't give a fuck. And he was still partying
Was this
hard.
after go back to school? Or?
Yeah. It was after the big movies. And he would do stand-up and just go out there with the fucking bathrobe on. And this was also like when he was putting together the Rodney Dangerfield stand-up specials.
Yeah, right.
Which were the most important stand-up specials ever. They introduced the world of Bill Hicks, Dice Clay, Sam Kinison, Dom Irrera, Lenny Clark... Who else?
Right.
Wasn't Jerry Seinfeld on those too?
I think so.
I'm not sure. Seinfeld might have already been. I think he was already really popular by then. But you look back on the Dangerfield ones. Like if you got on that Dangerfield special, that was a fucking stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Like holy shit, you're on the Dangerfield special. That was a big deal.
What was the 80s?
Those are like 86ish. Because I think Kinison really popped in 86. And so it was around that time because I remember he was fucking murdered on that special. Hicks killed on us. Dice murdered on that special.
Yeah, right.
Those specials, there was a couple of them. They were so big.
They were HBO?
Yeah. And Rodney Dangerfield's Young Comedian special. And you knew that, like, if those guys came to the fucking Catch a Rising Star or the Improv, you had to go see them.
Yep.
You know? That's how I found out about so many comedians that became some of my favorites. That and the fucking Tonight Show. People forget the Tonight Show used to be how you found out about a good comic.
Wait, did I tell you Keyboard Jeff from Comedy Store? You know, Jeff that passed away?
Yeah.
He told me a story. I think this is like been verified on a podcast, but the Richard Pryor Jr. They were doing coke, and Richard Pryor Jr. fucked Sam Kinison up the ass because Sam Kinison said, "I got to know what it's like to be fucked by Richard Pryor Jr." And then he did, and I think Richard Pryor Jr. has told this on a podcast.
I would imagine that's possible.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
That's a wild.
You're doing coke, people get crazy,
and you surpass the comedy legacy of your father.
Into his asshole.
How do
Imagine
you top?
Thinking you could get it through DNA.
Yeah.
Imagine if it was that easy. Like talented sperm would be so valuable. Richard Pryor Jr.
horse
slept
sperm,
with Sam
kind of.
Kinison. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Laugh at first sight. So this is someone telling the story.
Yeah, there's a couple other links for that. So.
Well, there you have it, folks.
Yeah.
We've proven that much more than we've proven the Jackie Gleason UFO thing.
If only we had that kind of
that kind of anecdotal evidence.
That actually ends with it saying it could be true. That whole skeptical
The Jackie
thing.
Gleason
Yeah,
thing?
it says there's 4 possible answers for this, and one of the 4 was that it could be true.
Yeah, that is a possibility.
Elvis was a DEA agent after meeting with Nixon.
But this is the thing. After we were talking about Bob Lazar, and after I've talked to him, and then I've seen all the interviews that he's done. I've talked to the detractors, and I've listened to their take on things. I think he worked there, man. I think for sure he worked there. Whether or not he worked there on something that actually came from another planet, that's where it gets weird. People who work there for sure remember him. They've told people they remember him. Like he knows his way around the buildings. Even Los Alamos Lab, he knows his way around the buildings.
Yeah, right.
Like he knows how to
So
navigate
who would know?
the place.
Like who would know about? That's the thing I always wonder is like with the Nixon, I guess.
They said he never worked at Los Alamos, but he was on the fucking the employee register from that year. If you can go there and you can find it. So they lied.
Yeah, that makes it suspicious when like why do you need to lie about a guy who is making it up? I think he thought they were going to take him out, so he spilled the beans as hard as he could spill the beans. It really is because that guy we just watched on C-SPAN. You don't have to come kill you. It could come just make you look nuts. Yeah, and if you just learn about things, it's awful. Like I started smoking more weed while I was watching that C-SPAN thing. It really is a horrible. It's terrifying. Learning I don't recommend it. I know. That's the thing. You're working with Jimmy Dore now, and because you're working with Jimmy Dore, Jimmy's constantly exposing insane corruption that no one's talking about. Constantly. And constantly calling people out. It's all shit that I wouldn't know about because nobody talks about it ever. You don't hear about it. It really is, and it's stuff that it's the weird thing I was telling Jamie is we'll report on something, and then I'll notice the other news, YouTube and elsewhere, reporting on it later, like 4 months later, they're talking about it. Like an embargo's been lifted when you're allowed to review well, things get to a point where they're so prevalent in the news that you kind of have to address them now. There's a thing where if you want to have access to the people, you're going to have to be like doing part PR for them. Yes. Or you're out of the club. So all these people that he's had on, this is what I like about him is all these people he's had on, if they don't do the thing they said, he brings it up. He doesn't politely, he doesn't do any of that team shit where you're supposed to like, no, I know this is a lie, but we have to go with it because the bad people could win. Like they all do that. Yeah. And that's not journalism. You can't get it from those forms anymore because they're holding water for so many different entities. Yeah. It's so hard for them to just spit facts. And I think the way you two guys do it together is so refreshing because it's like true. Like you go over facts and details, and then you're constantly cracking jokes. It's like there's levity to it. I'm kind of just like, well, I'm doing like just watching it laughing. It's it creates an effect, I think, to have a laughy guy.
Well, it's a perfect your type of joke writing is like perfect for that kind of shit.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It's like it syncs up with you. You're a quick.
Well, if I give him stuff, because I like to have more time for my first angry thoughts to at least try to marinate into clevers because they don't come out.
Right,
he's good
right.
at delivering like
angry and funny at the same time.
Yeah, he's very good at delivering that. So it works like it's a good rather than like tweeting.
Right. That's the worst way to do it.
Yeah, it's probably the worst way to do it.
It's just all context is lost. Everything's lost. Like
it's also like when they talk about people want to take your information. I didn't really understand it. It doesn't just mean like a corporation. It means just all kinds of people looking to see if they can find something that they could like make a name for talking about that you tweeted.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So there's always also that. And
well, that's a whole ecosystem now, calling people out for things. It's an ecosystem.
There's a whole business being destroyed right now.
Yeah. Well, but there's people that's all they do. Like you want some more of this?
Yeah.
That's all they do is call people out. That's like that's their only contribution. Well, which is great.
I can't believe how much that became the real news.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to pay to do journalism, so they just all the people that just got their start doing that moved up through the ranks into real news.
Yeah, bizarre. And then it functions like real news. That's how real news functions. And also, when the rise of these independent things like Jimmy's Show and Crystal and Kyle and Sagar, these people who are trustworthy, like you could count on them to give you information. They have opinions and perspective, and they might have their own biases, but they're not liars, and they're not owned by.
Well, a lot of them do get money. You'd be surprised. It's been very surprising who gets money from what since I've been.
I don't think any of those guys do. The guys that I just mentioned.
Well,
Jimmy doesn't.
All the Ukraine stuff, especially. Here's what's really creepy to me, is it's all like slow to mention how fucked up the Ukraine situation is. And the other really eerie thing is, I remember this before I did anything with Jimmy's Show, like in 2018, they were constantly reporting on like Ukraine's got a Nazi problem. That was a huge, on all the major things they would say.
And corruption, deep corruption.
Yeah, and so now, if you look at New York Times, he showed it, the celebrated Azov Battalion. They've even dropped saying the Nazi part.
Wow.
Did you see the thing of Jon Stewart hanging the medal on the Nazi's neck at Disney World with a Mickey Mouse behind him?
No.
What? Yeah, that's one of the ones we did. The guy covered it up. Though.
Oh,
it was
we
cool.
talking about sketch?
No.
What do you mean?
In real life.
Hold on. Explain that. What did you...
It was like the Warrior Games at Disney World, and an Azov hero, won like best guy on the team. I don't know how there's time to go to Disney World, but Jon Stewart hangs a medal on his neck, and he's got a red... In the photo, he's got a red thing covering it up. It's one of those Black Sun, the Himmler... I think it's like the occult thing, right? He's got that on his elbow.
What?
So, yeah, that's a very... Oh, there he is in the... Yeah, okay, that's the guy. But look at the picture of the guy in the hospital. Look at this sweet Make-A-Wish kid with a black sun.
Is that real?
Yeah. The thing is creepy is this all the regular news reported this up until abruptly now it doesn't come up. Which I can understand if like we were at war, right?
So he had something covering up his arm?
Yeah, see, he's got a thing covering it up.
So he had a thing to cover up his tattoo?
Yeah, but...
Wow.
I mean, holy shit. Walt Disney's dream coming true. Yeah.
Whoa.
Is that wild?
Well, did you ever see the thing that happened with Candace Owens?
No.
Where Candace Owens was talking about how corrupt the New York Times is. So the New York Times tried to play gotcha with her.
Oh, really?
And they said, what are you referring to? Like, what references? And she goes, your own fucking newspaper. And she sent them all these links from 2017 from the New York Times talking about how corrupt Ukraine is.
Dude, there's like a...
When a narrative shifts like that, and you don't say what Russia is doing is absolutely horrific.
Yeah, right.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Right.
But this is a place that is also like those people don't deserve that. The people that are citizens there, they don't deserve bombing. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like the government has always been criticized there. Yeah. And now it's not.
No, now it's. This is
totally
my favorite. I've heard this
around?
line 3 times. Like, Yeah, it's corrupt, but they're trying. I've heard that over and over
Well,
again.
they don't deserve to be attacked. Like I think there's a lot of parts.
Yeah,
of
there
that
shouldn't be
right.
None of this should be
None
happening.
of this should be happening.
There's some kind of proxy thing here. It's very weird that we spent more on this than Russia spent doing the invasion. We now surpassed what Russia has spent.
But what about this FTX thing?
Oh yeah, well,
that's where it gets crazy.
Which I love is they're all reporting on like how could this happen? Like he would play League of Legends while he's on the phone doing a $20 million deal, and then who was it? Goldman Sachs. Somebody's like, I love this kid. They all think it's great. They're like, how could they think that's great? Because he's a rich kid with connected parents. It's not if he was just some jerk off the street who looked like that.
Right.
They wouldn't be like, oh, this is great.
Well, his mom was a big Democratic Party operative, right? Wasn't she something along those lines?
Also MIT, the guy at the SEC that he would talk to was an MIT professor.
Go back, Jamie. What did you just show me?
I was trying to find the actual thing, and that wasn't it, but this is what he was talking about.
Crypto's biggest crash saw a guy playing League of Legends while luring investors. So while he was looking for he was playing this fucking game while he was talking to the investors?
If you just pay a bunch of money to the media, which is what he did, they'll just write things about how great you are.
That's the other thing.
He was a jerk off.
Yeah.
They'll write because there's only two kinds of stories. My friend I used to work with, she told me it's either puff, outrage. It's like puff pieces or hit pieces. That's all they do. Because that's how you get people to look at it and whatever. So that's all they can do.
So you could bribe these companies to do puff pieces.
That's what he did.
Isn't that wild?
The guy from Shark Tank that they asked him, he's like, I'd work with him again.
I think he was actually one of the guys that got paid too.
Of course.
I think he's one of the spokespeople, wasn't he? Yeah. Kevin O'Leary?
He had to give some fun disclosures on that video where he's like, before we get started on this, let me tell you that all my business accounts are involved in FTX and I've invested
Dude, there's
in
a video of him
goodness.
on Shark Tank tearing apart some guy who brought a Ponzi scheme to him.
Oh, no.
In fact, where did I say? I think it's CoffeeZilla.
Maybe he believes in this kid.
Yeah, I bet he does. It's just if you know the right people and his brother works with like a Gap or something, a guard against pandemics. Every single thing that you would see.
Did you see what the young lady said? She posted it on Twitter about her regular amphetamine use.
Oh, the chick
making people make life. What does she say?
I didn't see
Makes real life seem silly.
Yeah.
See if you can find out what her post was. But she was talking on Twitter about how consuming amphetamines on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Here it is. Made non-medicated life seem dumb.
Oh no shit. It was. But you see the obvious things they're saying.
Look. Nothing like regular amphetamine use to make you appreciate how dumb a lot of normal non-medicated human experience is. That is a hilarious thing to say from someone who, in April 5th of 2021, is responsible for how much money?
Dude, but you know what's crazy? They're all whacked out on legal prescription drugs.
Yeah, they're whacked out on. There's another thing that he was taking in a transdermal patch. He was taking schlegeline or something like that.
I just watched that dude. He's like a weightlifter guy.
More dates, yeah.
And
more plates, more dates, Derek.
Boy, that guy knows all the chemical.
My God.
Was he like a chemical engineer?
No, man. He's just fucking super smart and reads research.
I know. It's so funny when people are like...
I thought he was a chemist.
Everybody I ever knew that was some kind of fitness freak knew a lot of shit about. They weren't like stupid people that shouldn't do research. They were way ahead of everyone else I knew. 'Cause you know how like weightlifting supplements.
Oh yeah, man. Listen, I know a lot of people that know a lot of shit about like when you should eat for the maximum amount of absorption of the protein. How many grams per pound of body weight you have to take. And
that kid with that fledgling, that's amazing. A kid that out of shape is like weightlifter knowledge of nootropics. A bodybuilder guy.
Yeah. That's his body. His body is his mind. His body's just carrying his mind around.
What are the effects he said it does where it makes you like enjoy doing like boring work or something?
I think it was something along those lines. Let's find Derek's video on it because Derek describes it. But the schlegeline one, he had like a nicotine patch. It was like a patch.
Yeah.
So he's just like getting that slow drip of whatever the fuck that schlegeline stuff
that
is
stuff stays in you for a while. Those kind of things stay. Those ones where it stays for a while. You can't just go off it.
Right, transdermal.
Not the patch.
I don't know. It's a 20-minute video. I don't know what the part would be. Maybe.
Just start it. Right there. That's the stuff.
That's the stuff.
Yeah.
Sam.
Play this.
Okay, so he's gonna go. He has his medical disclaimer. He's smart about the way he handles stuff.
What's up, guys? Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're talking about Sam Bankman-Fried and his nootropic use, his drug use, his cognitive-enhancing, dopaminergic-enhancing drugs that he's using to stay cognitively fucking dialed, dude, for being the hyper-productive entrepreneur that he is, bro. So if you haven't seen, I'm sure you've probably seen, if you're clicking this, the FTX debacle. He's all in the news and has been for a minute now. Crypto fears contagion as billions owed to creditors. Sam Bankman-Fried becomes an ESG truth teller. FTX fires 3 of Sam Bankman-Fried's top deputies. Celebs like Tom Brady, Larry David did ads for crypto giant FTX. Now they're getting sued. Sam Bankman-Fried says fuck regulators. Musk's Twitter ultimatum and making TikToks instead of ads. This is Matt Levine on the collapse of Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX and Alameda. So apparently this guy went from a billionaire to nothing essentially overnight from this complete disaster of a situation. If you want some insight onto exactly what happened, check out CoffeeZilla. High quality information on a regular basis in a highly entertaining format. Highly recommend his channel for anything crypto scam related, essentially, or anything financial.
You know who has a good thing on FTX that is not making any conclusions to? This guy, Upper Echelon Games. I watch a really good. It's actually like great. I can't remember what it is, but it's about FTX when it fell, and he just doesn't claim anything. He just shows like it's worth watching.
That other guy, the guy who was the head dog at Google, was it Google or Facebook? Chamath? Where was he from? Was he from Google, right?
I think he runs this venture capital fund. I don't know. He probably used to work there.
Wasn't he like
the
top guy of Google?
Exactly.
Anyway, he's a billionaire, and he really understands it. And he actually reached out to them, contacted them, and said, you know, you should form a board. And they told him to go fuck himself. That's literally what they said to him.
Was he like,
go
I love
fuck
this
yourself. He was like, he's a fucking billionaire financial guy who actually understands how money works. And he said, like, this is what you guys got to do.
Oh,
like, and they're like, go fuck yourself.
Do you think the nootropics were making them arrogant?
They're on speed all day, man. These guys are jacked up on speed,
and they're all
making
fucking
billions. And they're fucking each other, all of them. All 9 of them.
In a house in the Bahamas just smells like nerd fucking.
Just nerd fucking. Just taking Mountain Dew and sledgeline, using a trackball.
These tweets on the side of this are crazy. That's probably what he's talking about.
What's he saying?
It says like Sam has fatal side effects when eating with meat products.
Yeah.
Oh, so is that why he's a vegan?
Gambling and hypersexuality.
Yeah, it's that fearlessness.
Pathological gambling and hypersexuality.
Yeah, have you heard of this before on other? I've heard of this with other drugs.
Well, one of them,
Gambling?
Reequip. You know what Reequip is?
No.
Reequip is a Parkinson's drug that got pulled from the market.
That's what this is.
Is that what it is?
That's what this says.
This
at
is
the very
Reequip?
beginning. It says it's developed to treat depression or Parkinson's and is off-label alertness and focus benefits.
But is it the same drug? Is it Reequip?
Could be I'll check. It could be Reequip.
Maybe. Find out if it's the same thing as Reequip. Because Reequip, they lost a settlement. They lost a court case where a guy became a gay sex and gambling addict.
I remember that.
Heterosexual guy with Parkinson's. He had a little bit of a shake, and so he starts taking this drug, and he just can't stop sucking cock and rolling dice.
Yeah.
He's just out there.
A compulsive behavior.
Wildly compulsive. Like finding people on ads and just fucking them, and they fuck him, and wild shit. Like, he couldn't believe what he was doing. He just lost his fucking mind. And they attributed it to the drug. They successfully, I think he got hundreds of thousands of dollars in a settlement.
Well, there was an ad. Well, I can't remember what drug it was for, and I remember hearing it. I want to say it was an antidepressant, but you would hear, like, if you feel a sudden urge to gamble, contact your doctor. Like, that's an odd.
But with this guy, it's crazy because I don't know that there were other cases that were similar. I just heard of this
thing
one.
Must have happened. If they're saying that on the commercial, that must happen a lot.
But is it the same drug? Are we talking about the same drug? Or is it other drugs that make you gamble too?
Any of those ones that are, you know, with the suicidal ideation or whatever they call it happens more. And somebody was telling, it's something that inhibits your fear, your anxiety. You know, your anxiety about all kinds of things, but like it could be for death too. You're supposed to be afraid of taking your own life, but it could.
Well, also taking other people's lives. You know, that's the correlation, not causation, that people make with psych drugs and shooters.
Yeah, well, Tom Cruise, when he said Matt Lauer was being glib, I laughed. But you know what? Matt Lauer was being glib.
Well, Matt Lauer thought that he was informed because that's what we were told. We were told that there's a chemical imbalance. And it turns out that that's not based on anything. Like that whole thing about people that are depressed have a chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
That's been.
It's in the commercial. I forgot. They go, it's thought to work this way. The wording is legally, not that they know this. They go, we think it works. And it was right in the commercial. And I didn't remember that from the commercials.
I think they're allowed to say we think it works that way. But I think now they know that that's not necessarily the case. What is the case now when they say, so the statement used to be that there was like a measurable chemical imbalance that certain people had that was leading them to be depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're saying that's not something that can measure. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I saw
Find out what that is.
An article came out where they said like that's not.
They said that's not true. It was based. Well, there's a lot of really crazy ones you find out, like that the amyloid plaque one with Alzheimer's.
Yeah,
turns out it was horseshit. It was based on fraudulent data. Yeah, it was.
I didn't hear that.
Fraud. It's based on fraud. Popular theory about depression wasn't debunked by a new review. So it wasn't debunked. This is from technologynetworks.com. So psychiatry gave up on the chemical imbalance theory a long time ago, they're saying. So they're saying maybe it's a common thought and they're saying it like it was a recent thing, but it wasn't.
Okay, wait.
The review published by international research team, including first author Professor Joanna Moncrief, aimed to assess the available evidence for and against the serotonin theory of depression systematically. The team explained this theory near the start of the paper. The theory is the idea that depression is the result of abnormalities in brain chemicals, particularly serotonin. The theory has been around for decades, but their overreaching conclusion is that it is not correct, given that there appears to be no link between measurable serotonin concentration and depression.
Okay.
The reaction of many academics, briefly as obviously, in comments, UK-based Science Media Center, Dr. Michael Bloomfield.
Wait a minute. This is some kind of, I'll bet you this is some industry fucking thing. Because all they're saying is, oh, no mental health professional says that. But people think that.
Yeah, but scroll back up again. I want to finish what he's saying. So he says, the findings from this umbrella review are really unsurprising. Depression has lots of different symptoms, and I don't think I've met any serious scientists or psychiatrists who think that all causes of depression are caused by a simple chemical imbalance in serotonin. But that's not what they're saying. They're saying they do say sometimes that there's a chemical imbalance in serotonin that causes depression. That's people have always said that. So if that's what people were saying, well, they're not saying that's the only reason why you're depressed. But see how he's wording this?
But they market it to you, even though in the...
But who's they, man?
The company... Well, okay, I don't remember the name of the drug, but the old commercial I saw it played, and so they're saying right there, we think it's out. They're not guaranteeing it in the commercial, but everyone I knew remembers it as, oh, it's that simplified thing that they're all saying, none of them were ever saying. Well, maybe they weren't in charge of marketing, but the people in charge of marketing were making it seem very much like that's the thing.
So there's different doctors. Scroll back up. There's different doctors who do a better job of explaining it. And this guy, or better to me, rather, Professor Phil Cohen, Cowan or Cohen, I'm not sure.
Oh, they're saying what I'm saying.
Professor of psychopharmacology at the University of Oxford said no mental health professional would currently endorse the view that a complex heterogeneous condition like depression stems from a deficiency in a single neurotransmitter. So he's saying that it's probably more things.
Do you see down there what it says? That it was heavily pushed by drug companies?
Yes.
So that's exactly
Where does
that.
it say? Read that. Yeah.
88% of respondents believed a chemical imbalance to be the cause of depression. This idea, the authors point out, was heavily pushed by drug companies aiming to sell serotonin selective reuptake inhibitor compound. So
read it further. Though. Eli Lilly.
Oh, Eli Lilly, for example, promoted their compound Prozac in 2008 with the following: many scientists believe that an imbalance in serotonin, one of these neurotransmitters, may be an important factor in the development and severity of depression. Prozac may help to correct this imbalance by increasing the brain's own supply of serotonin. That's from the commercial. I remember that. And so there's all these maybes and we don't knows, but you don't remember that. You just remember, oh, that's what causes it.
Exactly.
I saw an animated diagram of what causes it.
So they're not totally lying.
It's just the way wormy advertise.
Yeah.
It's so gross. That's the thing. Ask your doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Like that's fucking crazy.
And your doctor's supposed to be telling you what you should take, and you're asking your doctor about these
And then all
things.
of a sudden, there's a big panic of like, wait, don't ask your doctor about these ones right now.
Oh, yeah.
They've been telling people to ask their doctor, and all of a sudden, but don't even look.
Not the off-label stuff. Can't make any money off of that.
Who would ever use things off? That kid's
Isn't it
using,
wild?
what is he using? Parkinson medicine to steal your money back? You know what that is? It's an affinity scam. Like, Madoff preyed on a lot of Jewish people because and they trusted him. It's called an affinity scam when you try to prey on a fellow something.
Oh.
And this kid, that's an affinity scam of fellow connected rich people. They all trust. Oh, he's his pedigree's impeccable of his family's connections.
That was someone was trying to explain to me Epstein, and we were talking about it, the Epstein Island thing. Like, why would people go there? And I'm like, because other people were there.
Yeah, it's an
Bill
affinity
Clinton's
scam.
there.
Yeah,
but it's also if you're like fucking Bill Clinton's
Oh,
there.
yeah, him and-
for sure we're safe.
him and Tony
This is
Blair.
the place to go.
They'll show up at anything if you give them the right amount of money. They'll sit with this kid in board shorts and like unkempt hair and talk about crypto.
But that is one of the wildest things that Epstein did, is get all those prominent people to go. And it's not just guilt by association. It's also like it's a greeting card for all the other people.
Yeah.
Have you ever been invited to a party and they'll tell you someone famous is going to go?
Yes.
It's a weird thing.
There's a honey
like,
trap.
hey, if you go, Drew Carey might be there. Like, oh, Drew Carey might be there.
Yeah,
I might
right.
be there too then. I'd like to meet Drew Carey.
Yeah, why? And plus,
Yeah.
all the famous like gift baskets at award shows. that-
Sure.
Like, celebs love getting like
Oh, yeah.
hooked up. Like, that's a thing. Of any of the things that's a good side effect of if you're in any kind of show business, like when you get hooked up, like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I could go backstage at a thing.
Get free Ray-Bans.
Yeah, so like at all levels, they love that. At all levels.
Yeah. There used to be like a place you'd go for like these award shows, and there was these tents, and you go. That's the first time I met Ice Cube. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"What's up, Ice Cube?" We were both in this fucking stupid tent, and they were giving away all kinds of shit, man. They were giving away like fucking trips to places, free trips. They give you free trips. They give you jewelry.
This is for what?
For whatever, some
Oh.
stupid award show. I don't even remember which one it was.
I remember the Emmys. I got I had a basket, but I wasn't getting like the whatever primo Emmy thing. But I got that T-shirt of Bruce Lee as a DJ that.
Yes.
It's like a $600 T-shirt.
Is it really?
Or some.
That's
It was
hilarious.
something like that because, and I remember seeing it in Iron Man. Tony Stark is wearing it, and but that was like it was all that kind of stuff. And then like
inside.
they would custom make you a pair of shoes, but you had to. I never bothered to go
That's hilarious.
take my handmade shoe coupon.
Yeah, they always did that stuff. It's like it might have been the Emmys, but I went to a few of those things.
You know the best
I
gift
had to
basket?
go to one of those when Phil Hartman was nominated for an Emmy,
Oh, really?
and this was after he was murdered. So the whole
my God.
the whole cast of News
Oh,
Radio
right.
is sitting in the audience, just hoping that Phil's gonna win, and Phil didn't win. The dude from Frasier won, and Dave Foley turns to me and goes, "What the fuck does the guy have to do to win?"
Wow.
Dude, Dave Foley in the moment, one of the fucking sharpest guys ever.
I think
And
he's funny,
and,
that dude,
and the
man.
way he said it, the way he looked at me, it was like perfect.
You know, that
timing.
kid's in the whole movie with the drug company. There's a lot of like weirdly
Oh yeah,
ahead of it. In fact, they got a lot of weird ahead of their time stuff.
Yeah, and like The Simpsons in a way. Yeah, they had a whole thing. Like they predicted the woke takeover in like 1993.
Oh yeah, the art we just played that art class one.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
You know, I just realized the ultimate gift basket
What?
for celebs is the one FTX did with just a shit ton of money.
Yeah, oh,
That's
the
better
best.
than
fake money.
than a designer T-shirt.
If that guy didn't go to war with that other guy, that's what happened, right? That dude dumped all of his coins. He sold all of his coins, and they really
Binance,
couldn't cover it. Yeah,
yeah.
that was his like rival.
Yeah, he had a whole back door installed in that, so that his kind of house, one of girlfriend or whatever she is, ran Alameda Research.
Right.
And then they had some
They
back
funneled
door,
off
yeah.
like $10 billion into
Yeah.
that. It's the whole thing is so wild. They were just
Yeah.
on speed playing with fake money.
It's so funny to watch the videos where it's obvious and all you need is people to be on board.
Yeah.
If all the right people are on board, that's
Yeah.
all it takes.
It's like the Epstein Island thing.
Yeah, everyone. It's like everything's to train you to get to be Like, you don't really get to pick if you say whatever your politics, right?
Right.
Whatever you would call yourself, you don't get to decide that. Like, we'll let you know what you are.
Right.
You could decide maybe a gender. You go ahead and pick out a gender, honey. But you're not getting to pick. Everything else about your identity will be assigned to you from now on.
You can only, even that can only be assigned if it's convenient. You see what happened with the non-binary shooter?
Oh,
and then
yeah.
the transgender person on television says, I could tell by looking at them that that's a man.
Well, what do they do in that situation where they have... We played it on Jimmy's show.
That is such a crazy thing to say. Like, that is against everything you supposedly stand for.
Did you see initially? So it's Al Franken, some other white guy, the reporter, the woman, and then I can't remember the black guy's name, but she's like, so first hearing the non-binary thing. So now they're in a bad spot because you're supposed to like immediately go along with that.
Right. And they're resistant.
And this is like really screwing up their narrative of whatever they were going to say. This person was right, and so they had to turn the black guy because they're like, I hope, because we're white, like we can't say anything. Like, I hope this is enough of a shield for us to say we don't want to accept that the shooter is non-binary. And then they had to get a trans woman to come and go, he doesn't look non-binary to me.
Which is so crazy to say.
The whole rule is set up that way. In fact, I first heard about from that guy Adam Curry on here, ESG, a long time ago.
Yes. And
I was like, oh, is that what that is? Because I was wondering where all this bizarre, it sounds like it's a tax write-off. It's so like, you're like, they must be making money in some way or getting a grant to do this. Yeah, that's what it is.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's wild.
That's
like,
what
people
FTX
did. They're profiting off of a mind virus.
You could juke the numbers however you want. If you pay into it. I like a carbon, like your personal carbon
And it
footprint.
sounds good. You're trying to make the world a better place, a more equitable place, a beautiful place, a
that
more
kid
just
said that.
place, more diverse place.
He said that openly.
Sounds great.
And also that it was bullshit openly to someone he thought was giving him a favorable article. Because they're all really, really kid gloves with this FTX kid. He must have paid out.
It is weird how they're kid gloves with him, right? Like some places not at all, and other places like trying to paint him as a person who just made mistakes.
Yeah, the whole point of giving somebody a shit ton of money is not so you have to give them orders of what to. They just have an insight. Like, no, he's one of the good ones. I know we hate billionaires here, but this guy gave us like
millions.
Yeah,
he duked out millions. Doesn't Bill Gates do that too? Doesn't he donate like millions and millions of dollars to these media organizations?
Because he used to be a hated guy.
Well, he still is by some.
But I mean, in the media, I remember that when he was like a bad guy. You know, when they had the antitrust,
right?
And now they can't say enough. And then you find all these things like Common. I don't have kids, so I remember Common Core came out, and I would just hear everybody complaining about Common Core. And that's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation money made that a national thing. I didn't know about that at the time. Like a ton of Oh, look
what
at
is
him.
this?
It's listed at speaking at a New York Times event.
Yeah,
is
soon.
in 2 days.
Yeah.
Oh, and he'll be there, he says.
Which is crazy. Do they arrest him on the spot?
I don't think so.
That's wild.
What happens there?
I don't know.
Wait, go down a little. Go down a little bit. Yeah, Larry Fink. So that's the guy. I think he's the guy that invented ESG, right? That's his thing, isn't it?
CEO of BlackRock. So there's all these business folks.
Yeah, there's another article.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
So there's people in the Bahamas looking for him right now from like the crypto community.
Wow.
They're
It's a
like
real
hunting him down.
It's a real Epstein Island of notable people coming.
Oh, you got to imagine. There's probably some bad people that lost millions.
Billions?
Yeah.
I don't know how much people
Well,
really had involved.
I mean, a lot of people did, but I mean, some of them are bad people. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And can you imagine?
All these people know, like Van Jones especially, that guy knows the deal because they got him on camera. What's his name? Filmed him. They're like, this is all bullshit. Talking about Russiagate. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I'm forgetting the guy's name, but Veritas.
Yeah, James O'Keefe.
So that's him. I mean, it's not cut any way. Van Jones is saying it. I know a bunch of people from, especially being in New York, and all the comics would do cable news stuff, like Red Eye, we do. And you meet these people, and they're all like, they all know the game and assume you do too. And then if I meet people that think it's all like, they just can't imagine something nefarious was. Oh, yeah, of course.
Zelensky's there. He's not busy.
Nope.
Boy, that guy
Give a
really.
speech with a tie on. He's getting around. Well, you got to remember the guy was a comic.
Did you see Sean Penn? I know. Did you see Sean Penn give him
his Oscar? I want to know for which movie. Didn't Sean win a bunch of Oscars?
He's probably
He should.
Oscar.
If he hasn't, he should.
But who is that for? It's not the people in Ukraine. They're like, oh, we got an. That's for you at home to go. Oh, keep.
Sean Penn's expressing his support.
I love that he's just like the greatest tool.
You know what I think?
He got Chapo caught with his dumb
balls. He's got balls.
Oh,
the fact
yeah.
that he went down to meet Chapo, that is wild.
Did you see the thing?
That guy's got fucking balls. Well, can you imagine being him? Imagine being Sean Penn.
Right.
You go to Mexico to meet El Chapo.
Yeah, right.
How many people has El Chapo killed? You know?
Loaned.
But do you know the story of that?
Oh, he loaned it to him.
Loaned it.
Well,
yeah,
no,
if you
he
lose
said
the war, I want it back.
Bring it back to me when you come. I guess when you come
win,
to
bring it back to Malibu.
when you host the Academy Awards next year, please bring it back.
That is such a great statement. When you win, bring it back to Malibu. Like, what better place for a fucking completely disconnected celebrity to request a guy in the middle of a war to come to?
It's amazing. But
that's like a Coen Brothers movie line.
Dude, how are they this without even knowing anything about the situation? If you just live through the last ridiculous disasters that we should not have done,
right?
How would you be all in on this? We just assume everything you're hearing is a lie after the last 20 years.
Some people don't, and some people don't know what to think. I'm in the don't know what to think category. I don't think there's a good or a bad going on here. It's obviously bad that Russia invaded Ukraine. It's definitely not good that there's a war going on. And I don't understand why this can't be negotiated. Can it be negotiated?
That's a good question. Why can't it be? Why is there? Was there an? Well, I don't know. Watch Jimmy Show. I don't want to bring the heat down on you. Dave Smith has talked about a lot of this stuff already. Right?
Dave Smith
knows.
talked to it in great detail. Dave gave one of the best breakdowns of how this all happened in the first place, and he actually showed this video of this guy who wrote a book about this in 2014 on the Colbert Show, the old Colbert Show, where he's explaining the strategy and about how Ukraine is Robin and Batman is Russia.
Yeah,
and
right.
We want to steal Robin away from Batman.
Openly.
And we want to, openly. Talking about it on television as a joke about a book he wrote. He's joking about stealing Ukraine and making Ukraine join the EU.
That's the thing. These aren't conspiracy things. These were just, if you just have any memory of stuff that we used to be on, they would talk about this openly.
It's all
and
so
now,
crazy.
It's just what you do. It's the same thing every goddamn war. And I don't know how what it is now, I'm old, so I probably aged out of the demographic that it matters if I believe in it or not, So.
Well, I think less people buy the official narrative more than ever. But people get caught in camps, right? And if you're camp left wing, you're camp pro-Ukraine, you're pro the war, negative. I don't want to hear any negative things. The Azovs are, what do they call them now?
The celebrated Azov.
Celebrated Azovs.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear anything negative. It's going to not, because it's imperative that Ukraine win. And there's these
Now, do you know actual
narratives.
people? Because the people I know who would maybe say that aren't bots or they're either real plugged in and it's a real social credit in some circles, I guess, is how I take it. But I know they just now learned it wasn't called the Ukraine probably around February. That's clear.
Did you see all the bots that attacked Elon with the exact same sentence?
Yeah.
The exact same sentence about one guy shouldn't have all that power. It's the exact same sentence over and over and over again with all these different fake accounts. And someone posted a screenshot of it, of the same phrase being used by all these people. Not reposting. It's not reposting. They're just cut and pasting into all these different fake accounts.
Yeah, right.
That are pretending to be people, which is what Elon said when he bought Twitter. When he was buying Twitter,
I wonder about that, what he learned in the course of, because that was a real roller coaster ride, right? Then everybody forgot about it for a minute.
He learned some shit.
I bet.
Yeah, he learned some shit, and I think that's probably why everybody got fired. I mean, I think he probably felt like a lot of people weren't necessary, or he wanted to put all new people in. But I also, from things that he said publicly, there's some shit going down. What those people were supposed to do and what they were actually doing, and the way they were censoring people, and it was real. Well,
you watch his stupid I'm sure that anyone there that got cleared out, I have I'll bet they were really valuable. I don't even think of I see them reporting. I'm like, these are the people that made it great. Like, are they? I bet they weren't.
Well, you've seen the Project Veritas videos on that.
Yeah.
Where they talk to people about openly like stopping people's tweets from getting out, shadow banning them.
Yeah, it's all not conspiracy. First of all, the idea of a shadow ban, just to begin with, how is that okay?
Right.
There's some guy, I think that's an upper echelon video too. The guy that came up with it was some creep, like, so these like creepy like tech people. They're all like, you know, like a Reddit moderator level kind of person, which is, you know, I don't know if you know how brutal that is, but he came up with that like as a little like, wouldn't it be a great way like to just ban? And they don't even know why they're banned, and it just took off through the whole industry.
That's wild. It's wild that that's a real thing.
How's that allowed?
It is allowed though. Somehow or another, it's allowed, and you and I are probably both on it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Let me hit this weed again.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, I'm sure like all these people are going to...
Well, all these people are freaking out because Elon is opening the gates to everybody to come back.
Yeah, they're all mad about the wrong things.
He's like, if you haven't committed a crime, you should come back.
I don't think he's right about the Alex Jones thing.
Well, I think he believes that Alex Jones lied on purpose to profit.
Well, here's the weird part. Alex Jones didn't get kicked off of Twitter for saying anything about Parkland.
No,
he got kicked off for making fun of like Oliver Darcy and saying some like, he's like, I forget, it's something like an animal coming out of another animal's ass. Like,
something along those lines. I forget what he said.
Yeah, so.
But the point is that I think Elon's point was that he said that his son died, his first child, I believe it was his son. His first child died in his arms. That's what he said. And that anybody who would profit off of a child's death or
doesn't he work with the Pentagon? Oh, really? Anyone who would profit off it, like.
Meanwhile, the Taliban's on Twitter.
Yeah, like.
But the point is, like, knowing Alex, that is not what happened. Alex had a genuine psychotic break. He was losing his fucking mind. He was drinking heavily, and I think he really truly believed a lot of things that weren't true, because he was finding out so many things that were true. He was going crazy.
Well, you know,
and also drinking a lot.
Oh yeah, that always helps.
He really did have like a moment where he said, "I just was losing my fucking mind." That doesn't excuse it, right? It's just the fact. That's what, that's what was going on.
I feel like
the guy's right about a lot of shit, man.
If you look at his hit rate, this is the thing that's like eerie is, you know, it's because you know, people would say he's a fucking agent. I heard that all the time, and when you think of the amount of things that were right, but he said them, and like the frogs are turning gay. That famous clip, right?
Yeah,
it's based on a real story about pollution that's actually affecting wildlife. It's actually an important story. So he's referring to something that's a real thing. But
yeah, it's doing something fucked up to their hormones, and I think that it makes them intersex or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's important. But why are you saying it like that? Because then it makes it easy to dismiss. So
because he's funny.
Yeah,
that's the thing about Alex. Is like half of what he does is like the entertainment value,
right.
But then it's all interwoven in with real shit. Like he'll say shit, and you're like, "What? What are you talking about? They got to stop giving the polio vaccine to kids in Africa because they were giving them actual polio."
Yeah,
and you hear that, and you go, "What? Well, that's not true. That can't be true."
Dude, that's you know.
And then we went to a fucking AP article where they showed that polio vaccine,
when it first came out in America, that's the birth of. I never heard of this. Here's how I found out about it. I was looking up for something else for a joke for the show, and I was looking up polio because I got that when I was 5 in the 80s, right? Well, that's when it was perfected. It was perfectly good when I got it. Apparently, and it's not because it was the vaccine itself was bad. It's because the drug company that first manufactured it accidentally put live polio into it. So it was the actual pharmaceutical company fucked it up. And then some people got polio from it, and that was the birth of being hesitant about vaccines. People weren't just like, oh, it's black magic. Something happened. And here's the creepiest part of this article that I read. This wasn't someone arguing against the COVID vaccine. This was when Trump was in office still, doing Project Warp Speed to make sure the vaccine was going to get made. And they were all talking how it's bad because Trump's doing it. So this guy writing this like, hey, slow down, Trump. You should know why some people might be hesitant. If that was, if like I'm sure that same guy would be exactly the opposite on command. Yes.
On today.
That's the thing. It's creepy.
Yeah, that is kind of creepy. That it's like it's not fact based. It's what does the ideology support? What does the cult want?
Right.
The cult wants this. Vaccines are good. And if isn't there a strain of polio that's specifically from that? Like there's a vaccinated strain of polio that some people are catching? Let's find out if that's true. Yes, now.
Is that the thing about New York? There was something with the water supply they thought was causing polio.
I think they detected levels of polio in the waste supply, which would indicate that polio is in the area. I think that's what it is. Let's find out one at a time because I want to make sure that the vaccine case of polio is true because I think I heard Jimmy say it. I think it was something that Jimmy talked about. I
remember that article talking about them saying it, but I don't remember what the update of it was.
I think that's what the assertion was. Here it is. Detection of circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus 2. Vaccine-derived poliovirus is a well-documented type of poliovirus that has mutated from the strain originally contained in the oral polio vaccine. The oral polio vaccine contains a live, weakened form of poliovirus.
I didn't get oral as a kid.
So there's a poliovirus 2.
Oh, weird.
That is vaccine derived. That's crazy. And that's what they were talking about.
I got a shot when I was a kid. I didn't get an oral.
No, the oral one was the one that the AP was talking about with kids. They were giving it to kids in Africa, and they were winding up getting polio from the polio vaccine. That's what Alex talked about. And that's what I was like, there's no fucking way that's true. Pull that up. And he pulls it up. And it's not a wacky website. It's AP News.
The scary thing is when you read, in that stupid thing of what if somebody, by the way, I got vaccinated, but people are saying things like, what if someone you love needed a bed and then they couldn't get one in the hospital because an unvaccinated person was taking up the bed?
Oh, yeah.
I heard this repeated a lot.
Yeah.
Which it's already, but this is the thing I didn't think of at the time. It's already stupid on the face of it because when they come out and, I'm sorry, there's an unvaccinated person, your loved one has to die. And why are there not enough beds? If you know a pandemic's coming, wouldn't you think there'd be enough beds? They purposely run, because it's all private equity that owns the hospitals, they run it that way on purpose with not enough beds because it's not cost effective to have enough beds. And if you look it up, I read this in an article that was bragging about how great this is. It was like an industry thing. It was that way they'll provide more efficient care. And you can focus on preventable. It wasn't a thing exposing it. It was a thing explaining why it's great that there's not going to be enough beds from now on. That's the creepy shit.
So they don't plan for a pandemic, right? It's not like the hospital should have all these beds running 24/7 to plan for it. But once the pandemic hits, like how much resources would be involved in making sure there's enough beds?
Oh, in a lot of places, there were enough beds. That wasn't even a thing that there weren't enough beds.
Well, that was the thing, too. It's like there was a lot of propaganda about people that were clogging up. Remember this story?
Yeah, that's a fake story.
They clogged up the emergency room in Oklahoma because they were having ivermectin overdoses and there was no room for the gunshot wounds.
Right, and there hadn't been a gunshot wound in that town. And
it was all
the sheriff had to call, and Rolling Stone ran it.
Yeah.
By the way, that was great. With Yan Wenner, that clip is unbelievable.
That clip was so strange.
It really shows you, because I always wonder, what in the hell this, credulous, we watched Jon Stewart talking to Hillary and Condoleezza. Did you see that?
I tried not to.
Oh, it's brutal, dude. And you can even see on his face it's like you could see Luke Skywalker, I know there is good in you. He's trying to talk to him like that.
Wow.
And no, there isn't, dude. And the two of them are horrible. And the things they're saying, I don't even know how you get through the video watching. We didn't. We had to stop it every minute.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, the arrogant. It's just unbelievable. It's a foregone conclusion that it's great for us to keep going everywhere and regime change, whatever the hell we do, that like an alcoholic, this time is going to be better.
Is that what they're saying?
I've had people say it to me point blank of Iraq wasn't, they couldn't really have democracy culturally, but Ukraine's got a shot at it because they're more, stuff that's maybe not, I don't know if outright racist, but chauvinistic, let's say,
Right.
But just the idea it's going to, this time it's going to work. That's amazing.
Also, what does that make Ukraine. If Ukraine wins in the Ukraine, do they join the UN? Do they never join the UN? Are they a part of
you
NATO?
Mean NATO? Are they not in the UN?
Or
NATO? They're
NATO
not in.
rather. Excuse me, NATO. If they right, I've had a little marijuana, folks.
Yeah.
If they do join, isn't that like that was the big sticking point?
Yeah, if you watch it, we play all the clips of it. I mean,
well, that was what Dave Smith has said. That was the big sticking point. Was that they're moving their weapons closer and closer towards the Russian border.
Yeah, right.
And that if they could get them to join NATO,
there's a whole bunch of people that think that NATO should expand as much as possible and it should go like you could hear Condoleezza and Hillary. I mean, imagine the two of them. That's what I'm watching Jon Stewart sit through.
What do you think was going through his head?
I think he's like that. Remember they had that rally to restore sanity,
and
it was like a real middle. It's really like the Obama years were great for me. Festival is really what you call it, and a bunch of people I know in their minds like it was great when Obama got in. And I liked Obama a lot. I was all for Obama at the time. I had no idea of any of the actual things he was doing. Or like the drone wars. And then now you realize the left and right is like, if you're left, America left, you're for like advanced robot killing.
Of mostly innocent people.
I mean.
Grossly.
You're like 90%.
Yeah.
That ain't a good. Can you say collateral damage at that point? It's collateral survivors at that point.
Yeah, the amount of actual people that they target that get killed.
Yeah, so.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 10%. Right?
So they made it like.
90%.
A combatant, somebody who could be a combatant. At one point they made it anybody over the age of 15, some creepy thing like that, right? That was during Obama. So then you could just legally do this stuff. Trump made it so they don't even have to report. They don't have to report the numbers. So those are your choices. That's your two choice. It's like a left Twix and right Twix.
Could you imagine you're on your way to a fucking wedding and you hear missiles that get launched from robots?
I mean,
you got so many cars headed to the mountains. They assume
I have wanted to get out of going to a wedding really bad, and so I'm not the right. But I see what you're saying.
But those are the horror stories you always hear, like a wedding party.
Then they gotta. It's just unbelievable.
But it's the same sort of cop logic that allow you to steal $10,000 from some kid about to buy a Camaro.
That's a good. What cop logic's a good.
Yeah,
that's what they sounded like. Hillary
good guys,
Clinton.
bad guys.
They had cop logic.
Well, that was what Julian Assange exposed in that video that was so damning.
Yeah,
there was
right.
that moment where that guy in that it was a helicopter, right?
Yeah.
Who launched those missiles at the photographers.
Yeah, right.
And then there was kids that were in a van, and he was like, "Well, they shouldn't have had their kids with them." Which is.
Remember the guy that they got by drone that looked like Adrian Brody, kind of a la Lockie?
Yes.
And his son had gone to find his dad, and so was with him and died too. And I remember people now who would be like war hawks saying he's an American citizen they just executed. Now, when they got him at the time, I remember thinking, hey, citizenship revoked, motherfucker. That's how I felt.
Right.
It didn't even occur to me that if they're going to do that there. What do you think they'll do to you at home? Not give you the same treatment when it comes down to it? Whatever they do over there, they're going to do to you when it's convenient. Like any kind of fucking gangster. That's how it is. So, but I had no concept of that. I remember 9/11, I was there, and I remember everybody was on board with, yeah, that makes sense. Go to Iraq. You just got to show them all.
Yeah, the idea
shock
was
and awe them,
we can't ever have this happen again. Shock and awe.
I think it's really great how Islamic fundamentalist terrorists have kind of just stopped wanting to attack us. I guess they see we have so many other things on our plate. You know how it was the biggest, most important thing, and you never hear about it now.
Do you remember when we had the scale? Like it's orange today for possible terrorist attacks.
Yeah.
Remember they tried that for a little while?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't remember. Do you remember it, Jamie?
The orange.
It was on TV. They would go, today's yellow. Relax, go outside, go to the park, where the government is paying attention.
Just to have at the time that came across to me like a
National Terrorism Advisory System.
Taking your shoes off at the airport, that's a good.
It was one fucking guy. DHS replaced the color-coded alerts of Homeland Security advisory systems with the National Terrorism Advisory System in 2011. So they ran that shit for a few years. and they gave it up.
And the way it works is like you get funding for these stupid things, so they could be idiotic, and they'll just go. We can take our shoes off at the airport forever, and that's how I think about every every single
it was one
thing,
guy,
yeah.
right? One guy tried to blow his shoe up.
Then they could have just looked at his shoes. His shoes had visible fuses coming out of them.
He was trying to light it while he's sitting next to people.
Hey, just take a peek at their shoes, maybe.
People stopped him from doing it. Like he's there with a shitty lighter.
So dumb. Oh, yeah. Oh, the Ron Jeremy one.
He's got the shoe right there.
Did you ever talk to that guy, John Kirikow, that caught him?
No.
He's an interesting dude to talk to, CIA guy. He's the one that revealed the torture program.
Richard Reed was the guy, right? So all under
That's
his
the shoe
was
bomber, Richard Reed.
explosives.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. You imagine being on a fucking plane and you see a guy lighting his shoe, and you're like, oh my God.
I know. He already, especially if
did
you're
it.
like, okay, I don't want to be phobic and just assume this guy who has a real terrorist look in his eyes.
Are you sure? He has a look in his eyes like he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Look
Well,
at his eyes.
He expected to be.
Like how many of those guys did they talk? Remember that guy that they talked into doing that fake bomb? The FBI courted him. They convinced him that he should blow up this fake bomb, and they gave him a cell phone to blow up the fake bomb. And then when he tried to activate the fake bomb, they arrested him.
Wait, what kind of
Islamic terrorist.
So
he was 19 years
they
old.
do that. That I remember at the time looking up what's the most common, because at the time it was an argument about Islamic terrorism, how dangerous. Right, that's what
Right.
that was the big argument. So I wonder what is the most terrorism. I looked it up, and it was like 2011. Eco-terrorism was the number one. I was like, eco-terrorism? I guess because it's mostly against property. But there's a guy who he got it. I guess how entrapment works is not how I would have thought entrapment works. You could have a kind of shitty person go in undercover and make up a plan with some guy who's like weak or stupid and wouldn't have done it otherwise. And they got there's like 300 or something cases of that with Islamic terrorists. But before that there's a famous one with some kid who's like a virgin, and they got a girl to fuck him and draw up a plan, and he just gave him money, get some loser.
Yeah.
And then you catch him, and there's funding. Meanwhile, the Boston Marathon bombers slipped through. In fact, a bunch of shootings, here's a weird commonality. A lot of people noticed something wrong and called both their local police and the FBI, and they didn't somehow catch it.
Well, wasn't the Boston bomber an FBI informant?
I never even heard that, but
Was that true? Was the Boston bomber an informant? Is that speculation?
well, the last thing I saw, because remember Brass Eye? Did you ever see that? It was like a British fake news thing. It was really funny.
No.
This guy named Chris Morris. He made a movie about, and I remember this case in Florida. They were it was like a black Islamic group that had this preposterous plan to ride horses into Chicago, something crazy, but they were set up. And I remember on the news seeing, remember they rounded up the homegrown terrorists? Mm-hmm. And they left behind this one guy that he was like really slow. The news, he was the only one left of you could tell he was the runt of the litter of this thing. And you could tell he was slow. And I remember like, I think Bill Maher made a joke about how it wasn't the A-team of terror,
Right.
It was like that. And so when I saw this Chris Morris interview later, I'm like, oh, I remember those. There's all these like, where they caught people, and I didn't really know the details of it.
But the guy was really dumb, and they
It's all
probably
like
just talked him into it. Well, how about the Gretchen Whitmire thing?
I know, dude.
There was 14 people that were trying to kidnap her. 12 of them were FBI informants.
That's some kind of. It's like the waste of
I mean, but that's hilarious.
It's like sounds like some kind of thing to sell more cleaners to me. Everything sounds like that to me. Like
right. It
or
sounds like
create
it
these
can't be
things.
real.
It's something that you have to prove you did something that was in your nature, I think is the wording, which is a very strange. But I found that out on.
So they can talk you into doing it because it was in your nature to do it.
How the hell do you have that as law?
Unanswered question about Tamerlan Sarnaev.
Yeah.
So what are the questions?
Was he an informant?
Pterodactyl triceratops.
I didn't get a good answer.
Was he a federal informant? How does a federal informant program work? How do federal agents recruit Muslims and other immigrants to become informants? And did Tamerlan Sarnaev, how do you say that? Help me out. Sarnaev received special treatment through this program for his application to become a U.S. citizen. In 2014, As his dad, Dozklar Sarnev, prepared for his defense, his lawyers
his name.
filed a motion seeking all documents related to FBI contact with Tamerlan. Why? They believe. Oh, that's the other dude. They believe that Tamerlan had been a federal informant. They wrote, "We based this information from our client's family and other sources that the FBI made more than one visit to talk to Tamerlan and asked him to be an informant reporting on the Chechen and Muslim community.
Oh.
We base this information from our clients." That's it. That's the highlighted
So
thing.
I tried to read down it to find out any confirmation. It's really long. There are some ties. He's listed in this visual here.
So because they even approached him, that set him off because he was already going in that vein. Is that what I'm?
Did see as a boxer? They've focused on him in this
is from 2010.
And what is it about?
This was like used to sell people. This is an excerpt from Boston University graduate student publication.
The comment which featured him in 2010. Scroll back up again where it was.
This is just a long article.
Yeah, I know, but it says there was someone. Here it is. He desperately wanted citizenship. In 2010, he was featured in a magazine. You help us, we'll help you. McPhee tells Radio Boston.
According to, he went over to Dagestan, I think, where he was trying to, according to some officials, get involved with some fighters, which, according to this, then they didn't let him in because of his ties to a conspicuous Western culture. It says right here, conspicuous
Western
Chechen fighters.
style.
So that's why I was trying to read. This is a very long article. I couldn't find it out. I don't even know if this has a actual.
So that's
answer.
like a perfect guy to approach to be like, hey, you want to find stuff and what? And
yeah,
if he's already paranoid,
especially if he's a boxer and he wants to be a U.S. citizen,
yeah,
and they can get him to.
Similarly, I found this article in the New York Times, which goes into someone very similar. They tried to find a nuclear specialist and get him to do a bomb, and this long article goes into, I guess he
Dude,
did.
there's
He
a
saw
bunch
through
of
it.
Hold on,
these.
say it again. In
He
what?
did not go through with this. I think he saw through whoever was trying to get at him.
Same kind of deal,
Yeah.
but okay. Yeah, like they do that all the time, I think.
It's not even breaking the law is like you could do a crazy amount of entrapment. So, and I wasn't aware of that, you know.
That is nuts. It's nuts that that's funded by tax dollars
Did you
to
ever
trick people.
Did you ever see the thing?
He was sentenced to 30 years, despite his concerns of entrapment, this says.
Yeah.
So he wasn't let go.
Just fuck your concerns.
He got fucked.
So they still put him away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why
I
they
don't know-
put
I
him
don't-
away? Because he was thinking about it?
Yeah, again, I didn't.
Because he was talking to them about it?
Did you
Yeah,
ever?
but you imagine if you're hanging around with dudes who are talking about blowing up a nuke in Manhattan, and you're in the same cell as them, same terror cell, and you're like, yeah, man, sounds like a good idea. Sounds like a plan.
That's one
And they're
thing.
recording this, but they turn out to be the FBI. But you're never planning on doing it.
Yeah.
You just think you're freaked out by the fact that these guys want to blow up a fucking
Yeah.
nuke. What do you say? If this is your group of people?
Dude, yeah, that's what people did when I was doing Sasha's thing. Because you're like, why do people? Because people will like sense something weird.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they'll sense something weird and go along with it. Especially like real like reality show kind of people. Like they're just like camera. Oh, I just do the thing and don't think about the thing and do it. And
Right.
Like, or it made the news, but it was the guy was freaked out and he did try to like. Remember there was some news that some guy brought up like a pedophile ring or something. There's some guy that thought it turned out to not be that at all. It was like a guy, but people be scared when they hear you bring up some kind of illegal thing, and they might act like it's okay and then go report it. You know, hopefully that's what.
What are you talking about? Pedophile thing? What?
I don't remember the exact thing, but one of the guys they did a prank on, that first it went around like a rumor that.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
That's right.
And I
That's
called
right.
my friend, and he was like, it turned out the guy, he was afraid because he just heard this and went along with the thing. And so it was nothing, but people will go along with something if you scare. I mean, what do
Right.
you know, especially
Well,
with five guys.
Right. Also, some people, they're like, you could get them to talk about almost anything. Like there's some people that like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's a certain level of unsophisticated person. If you're around them and you start talking about ghosts, they're like, oh yeah. They just go with it,
I thought you
right?
were talking about Sam Harris on trigonometry. I'm like, are you saying this for real?
I wish he hadn't used those words.
Well, I love that he did because it's so like it's such like an obvious thing, but like a bunch of people not as bright as him would know not to say that.
He feels very strongly anti-Trump in a way that, what do they call it? Trump derangement syndrome?
Every time I think that's just some kind of like phrase, I'll see a new example where I'm like, this is amazing. He literally goes, yeah, no, it's a conspiracy. That's good. We have to do it. Like you're the Dark Knight with the Joker and you got to spy on everybody's phone that one time.
See, the thing is, it's the one good thing about someone like Trump even being able to become president, which is so crazy. It just shows you how bananas this system really is.
But that's the problem with him is that mainly. Because, people that think he's going to help, I want it to work out for you, but guess what? There ain't no help coming.
I don't think there's help coming either.
I give it to Candace Owens, that interview with Trump where she brought up Eric Snowden and Julian Assange.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump said, he was like, well, I should have. I've never even heard of Trump saying I should have done something different. Like, that's amazing to get that out of him.
That's one of those ones where if he did, who the fuck knows what would have happened. That's like a fucking take a ride in a convertible through Dallas moment.
All these things that I would have dismissed, especially stuff like JFK, Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
JFK's a movie, right? That kind of thing. Like, there's probably an explanation. Just the fact that you would delay it another,
55 years, something like that.
Like, why? Automatically, yeah, what could the reason be? Is it something good?
I'm sure you have our best interests in mind. You always do.
Why would you not want to tell us this right now?
Yeah. What about this could people not handle? Something that happened in 1963. Go.
Also, what about all the data of the safe, effective vaccine that I got? That is, they want to hold back for 75.
Yeah.
Really?
75 years. Or they're making them do it quicker.
Yeah, the judge.
Yeah.
We don't have enough people to go through and put black. You're allowed to redact. Did you see the EU hearings where they're asking about the data and the guy's holding up what they were given and it's all blacked out except for like one line here and there. That's just the contract with the drug companies that the guy's government made. You get so that's how much that's proprietary information.
Well, think about Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah.
Now multiply that many, many times.
Yeah.
And you got the amount of money that's rolling around. And it's just getting in everybody's pockets.
It's the same goddamn
creating
thing.
Influence everywhere you go.
To the same people that made what's the movie about? Steve Carell's in it and Batman's in it.
Yeah.
About 2008 thing. That thing keeps going. Like it's never.
What is it? Big Short.
Big Short.
Yeah.
All that stuff Matt Taibbi wrote about has never been addressed or fixed in any way.
No, and Matt Taibbi did a brilliant job of breaking it down to someone who's never studied the markets before, and you just go, what?
Yeah,
That's
right.
how you guys were doing this? Like, this whole thing is insane.
No,
and then the whole thing about you have to bail them out, and then the people that you bail out are allowed to get bonuses, like giant bonuses.
Yeah, right.
You have to give them the bonus because otherwise they're going to leave and go somewhere else. Like, what? What the fuck are you saying? The country's on fire.
The WeWork guy. You ever see WeWork?
Yeah, what happened with that?
He got like $1 billion out of, what was it? It was like a tech company, but their tech was selling office space or renting office space, which is not tech. And he just got all you had to do was just be barefoot and talk about some kind of goop kind of shit. That's all you got to do, rich people. I was talking to this dude Pasta who has a good podcast I do. His buddy Steve we were talking about Hawaii because you just went to. You could make a whole living. Steve said you just bring a didgeridoo to Hawaii and walk along the beach just playing, and you could get some kind of patronage eventually, and that's like a therapy. Like it really is.
Those are the weirdest fucking. That's like Viking shit. Like, where'd that come from? Is it a Maori thing? Is that a New Zealand thing?
I thought it was an Aboriginal thing.
Is that what it is?
Far back.
I gotta believe.
Great fucking sound.
I gotta believe that the Aborigines never enjoyed their own didgeridoos as much as a white guy with dreadlocks.
Wow, look at them. Look how cool that looks. Holy shit.
Yeah.
They're wearing these wild like paint all over their body and these crazy outfits. I want to hear that.
Okay.
Can we hear it?
I mean, that guy could clean up in Hawaii if he showed up.
Fuck yeah. If
in
those
full
guys were on the
regalia.
beach, boy. It's such a fucking psychedelic sound.
Yeah, right.
Like if you were doing mushrooms in like a teepee with a fire in the center of
Right.
it, and you hear that sound, whoa, Fuck yeah. We're tripping.
Is he doing
balls.
a didgeridoo solo right now?
Yeah, bro, I'm tripping balls just listening to him. Imagine you hear that sound and you have like a cold camp because you're trying to hide and you're hoping that they don't find you.
I mean, can I tell you what I
The
appreciate?
Aboriginals are ready to come kick your ass and you hear this from the top of the mountain.
I'm Tom Selleck in Quigley Down Under. Wait. This guy, you could tell, is like the Steve Vai of didgeridoo.
That's wild.
Well, I mean, I like...
My buddy Adam Greentree works with a lot of Aboriginal people. He runs a mining company in Australia. And he said that there's so many languages that they call them mobs. Like the different groups of Australia, instead of a tribe, they call themselves a mob. And one mob might not understand what another mob 100 kilometers away speaks.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, no shit.
He said it's wild. And he said a lot of it's not written down either, unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
So, like, if they die off, and sometimes they'll have, like, you know, historically, they were poisoned by people that lived there. They were poisoned by the settlers.
Oh,
And
yeah, it's crazy.
They
That
lost
history.
like giant groups of them. There's like a cave he was telling me about, and if you go there, there's like a whole mob that was killed with poison. They gave them poison.
Oh
food
yeah,
in this
really?
cave.
It's a really bad.
There's Adam. That's my
That might
buddy.
have been the cave, but that might not be.
Well, there's a cave that was filled with bones.
Yeah, right. Quigley Down Under was about a lot of that, but they were shooting at Aboriginals. But it's really wild what happened.
Quigley Down Under?
Yeah, you ever see that with Tom Selleck?
No, I never saw that.
Oh yeah, he shows up and it's all about that, how they were massacring. Not he wasn't doing it, but I guess Quigley. I don't think it's a real guy,
They would
but
steal their children and make them be adopted by white people.
well, that's a
Quigley
Canada.
Down Under.
Canada has a whole history of that, right?
Yeah,
and
they did that too, I think, right?
the pictures, they'll have pictures of the whole thing, and they make them in black and white, even though it wasn't black and white.
It's like
to create,
1975.
yeah, to create emotional distance from the event.
Jesus Christ, that's crazy.
Yeah, some
this
guy
was a long time ago, back when there
Yep.
was only paintings.
You put it in black and white. People are like, get over it.
Isn't that funny? That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Put it in black and white, and people are like, oh.
There's all
Or
these
just make
subtle
it a
things,
Polaroid.
yeah.
Make it a Polaroid, like clearly big white strip on the bottom. Oh, it's a Polaroid.
Wait, do you know? I was just thinking, can you only play that one song on didgeridoo? I've only heard one song.
Well, I think
One
you get to
didgeridoo.
make your own sort of sound because there's no. It's all in whoa, 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 what noises you're making in that giant ass tube.
Did you see that Dune movie where they, the new one they made, and the guy, they're doing some sacrifice.
No, I didn't see the new Dune.
Oh, there's a cool.
Was it
part.
good?
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I thought it done as well as you could do it. And but the guy's doing that throats. It's not, you know, I don't, not Tibet. That throat singing where it's like almost like some Mongol shit, and they make a didgeridoo. Oh yeah, here we go. It's right in the beginning of this. Yeah. It's like that monk chant.
That's what Duncan Trussell does before he goes to sleep. Wow. This is fucking cool.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Bro, I need to see this movie. I saw the original one way back in the Disney.
I saw the like a long copy of it that doesn't. It was like George C. Scott doing the opening and not.
Oh, really?
The one where the girl who plays the princess is doing it is one of the worst. She goes, "Oh, and I forgot one more thing." She says that in the opening crawl. The planet's called Dune. It's such a bad cut, but I think this was an Alan Smithy one. When I was in art school, my friend Tom had it. It was actually, I liked it a lot.
Do you think we're sliding into some science fiction movie dystopia? It's just happening,
Yeah,
slowly and unstoppably.
I think it happened 20 years ago, and you're just slowly learning of it now.
And we're gonna wake up one day when things are horrific, and that will be our normal existence. And if we saw that today, we'd be terrified. We'd be terrified of where it's going to be like the Terminator. It's going to be like flying drones that know where your location is at all times.
To that movie that you showed, that Collapse movie, which I remember when that came out, and how bizarre that is that it's getting like great reviews back then because it was like
kind of right-wingy.
Well, that's not right. That doesn't even sound right-wing.
No, it's like anti.
That's what they would say now.
Yeah, that's what they would say now.
Oh, you think it's bad to the wars? You're really right-wing. Like, do you even know?
Right.
So nothing means anything. It's all like a label that could be changed at a moment's notice, and you're supposed to forget what it meant like 2 weeks ago.
The fact that it can be changed at a moment's notice, and the fact that you can get people to support war, you can get people to ignore the existence of the military-industrial complex and the amount of money that is involved in that and the influence that has.
Dude, that's the worst part of that Jon Stewart thing, where you can see he's like he's like, no, I'm not trying to hold your feet to the fire. He keeps doing that because he wants to get to something, and then what he gets to is, okay, I know. Do you think this isn't like cost effective for our empire? The only appeal he makes to him is maybe we're stretching our empire too thin, and is it fiscally? That's all he'll broach the topic with them. That's how fucking warped it is.
But that's the only way you could have that conversation with them? Do they have parameters,
that's what it looked like
you think?
well, yeah, why would they even show up to that?
But would John push that? Or would John know that this is the way to get access to these people is you have to be able to have these kind of interviews with them?
I would love to know, because first of all, there's no way he doesn't know by now that medal he put on the guy, that was a guy with that Nazi tattoo.
Now he probably knows.
There's no way he doesn't know.
Yeah, he probably knows now.
It's just a thing of having faith in the, like, let's not give up on this. It's not. It still work. Like, what's his name? Jan Wenner? Mm-hmm. The thing where he's like, yeah, the drug supply is really safe. He was watching somebody who's like a legendary founder of a thing who's like, so like, no, like Ben and Jerry are in charge now. And it's the good people are the establishment. It's all being taken care of. And they don't read. They know people. So they just assume it's all,
they assume everything is fine because that's what the narrative is. And if you're a good person, you go with the narrative.
There you go.
Do you remember when they had the fucking Boston bomber on the cover and they got criticized because he was hot?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
He had those
Find that photo.
Yeah.
He looks like a
that
teen
sweet
idol.
Lips, yeah.
He's a handsome fella.
That dreamboat terrorist.
Dreamboat terrorist.
Not like the meaner older brother with his mushed in.
Look at him there.
Yeah. No, I mean, he does look like a boy band.
Look at that. He looks like he's some fucking new guy. He's the new hot guy the girls have on their wall.
Were they Chechen?
I don't know what he was.
Because I thought that was something like that.
Well, that wasn't that long ago, huh?
Yeah, because
Gary Clark Jr.
Remember back when we had no problem with Russia because the Chechens and Muslim terrorists, and they cracked down on that.
This whole thing is wild. But the fact that they found it disgusting and shameful, tasteless, a slap in the face to America. Boston public officials have issued similar appraisals. Mayor Thomas Menino called it a total disgrace. CVS, Walgreens, and other local retailers have promised not to sell the issue. Wow.
Well, you got to admit.
But that's just because his face was cute.
Yeah.
Scroll back up. Imagine if you look like Harvey Weinstein.
I mean, you tell me he's not way hotter than the FTX kid?
He's hot.
They got full page.
Look at him. He's a handsome fellow.
I know. I think he didn't do it the more I look at his picture. I don't think he could have with those lips.
But if his head was shaved and he was ugly,
yeah,
would they still have him on the cover? But the thing is, like, why do they have him on the cover? Why take a terrifying, awful situation like that and make the person a star?
Well, number one, that's the most important thing is to sell. I bet you sell a bunch of copies of Rolling Stone with that as the cover. A dreamy terrorist.
Would you like to be in the room when they made that call? Do we put the terrorist dreamboat on the cover or Gary Clark Jr.? Because Gary Clark Jr. is on the cover too.
Who's Gary Clark Jr.?
He's the baddest motherfucker alive. You don't know who Gary Clark Jr. is?
I think Dozer Triceratops is more bad than him.
He's one of the greatest guitarists that's ever lived.
Oh! I thought you meant like.
No, he's alive right now. He lives in Austin, Texas. He's the fucking man.
Oh, I didn't know anything about him.
Him and Suzanne Santo did a cover of Midnight Rider once. I saw it at a live club. To this day, like one of the greatest musical performances I've ever seen. It's Gary Clark Jr.'s version of the Allman Brothers' Midnight Rider with Suzanne Santos singing, and she doesn't totally know the words, so she Googled it and got the fucking lyrics on her phone. She's singing perfectly her version of Midnight Rider off of a fucking phone, impromptu.
Where were you?
There's like a small club in downtown L.A.
Oh, no shit.
Yes. I was with my oldest daughter and Suzanne and Gary Clark Jr. and Ben, because Honey Honey was together back then. And it was like some Smirnoff thing or some shit. Some fucking liquor company put together some event where they were going to perform live. And it was like 150 people in the room. It was like a midnight on a Tuesday in downtown LA and was fucking amazing. And I recorded some of it and put it on the Instagram. Find the video. It was so fucking good, dude. This video from my stupid phone is only going to capture like just a trace of the magic in the room. But when it was happening in the room, it was like, holy shit, this is good.
You reminded me of...
Here it is. That's Gary Clark Jr., motherfucker.
Oh, I know who that is. Okay.
Listen to that. And this is just from my phone, right? You know how good this sounded there?
Yeah, no, I was going to say a phone's going to be like the least.
It's Jameson, that's what it was. God damn, that's good. See, she's reading the lyrics right now off her phone. Look at that. She doesn't know them. How wild is that? Was that the end of it?
You know, you just reminded me of, dude, Artie Lang's story of when, remember Prince played Saturday Night Live party, like the after party at Saturday Night Live one time?
Oh, yeah?
Or was supposed to. I think one night when I went to that party, and I was with Artie Lang, I want to say Frank Sebastiano, but Prince was supposed to show up. I guess maybe he did much later, but Artie wanted to sit in the front row and heckle him and scream, "Play Raspberry Beret!" He was just going to be a fat guy. He wanted Prince to see a fat guy. Raspberry Beret!
Oh, my God. Thank God he didn't do that.
Yeah, I think Prince went to like the real after party or something was what it was. There's like a real one.
I had a chance to see Prince once live at the Foundation Room at the House of Blues in Vegas. And I decided it was too late. I'm going to go to sleep.
You know where I saw him one time? In person? At Ben Gleib's birthday party.
Really?
Yeah, first time.
Walking around?
It was at this club.
Just
Prince came
out?
in. He was real, because, you know, he was a Jehovah's Witness for a minute.
Prince was?
Oh, yeah. So I wanted to ask him all about, but you can't even get near Prince.
Christian Scientists is the one that don't let you go to the doctor, right?
I'm not really clear. I know that was something part of it at one point, but that's...
not Jehovah's Witness, though.
No, that's Mary Baker Eddy is the founder.
So was he Jehovah's Witness as a child like you were? Or was
he
as an
late
adopter?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he went door to door.
Whoa. How old was he?
I don't know. I feel like Chris Rock had a joke about it or something. Somebody had a joke about it, about Prince knocking on your door. Like, it was when he was an adult. Like,
all I'm hearing about Chris Rock is that he's on fire right now.
Oh, I bet.
All this, like, getting slapped by Will Smith and the Academy applaud. I think that lit a fire into that dude. All I've been hearing, I heard he destroyed here in Austin.
Well, if you watch that recording, also, right before that, so you know Tim Dillon, right?
Yeah.
I did a live show he had at the main room, okay? And after, Chris Rock came up and talked to me. He's like, yeah, it was really fun. It was like really cool, okay? And then he hit me up a couple weeks later to maybe help write jokes for stuff, you know, like, so I was like, awesome. He was like an awesome guy. Like, I talked to him for like a couple hours on the phone. We talked. And so I didn't know what the timetable, because he did mention jokes for the Oscars, okay? But I don't know when all that stuff is, and I'm not good with email. So, you know.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, so it didn't. So I just figured he'd text me, you know, but, you know, that's how, like, Louis read his email, and I don't. So I was getting, like, all this, like, emails from the guy. I'm like, oh, I'm working on Kyle's thing and, like, Jimmy's thing. I had no concept of when anything was, okay? So I had to go do Winnipeg. And while I was coming home from Winnipeg, I get a call from my manager. She's like, "Did you write a joke about Will Smith's wife?" Like, and I go, "Oh shit, the Oscars was tonight."
So you're responsible.
I like to think I'm not, but
so you wrote the G.I. Jane?
Because I think that was an in the moment thing. Well, I think it was an in the moment because when I watched that, I know. Well, this is what I'd be thinking, which it looks to me like Chris Rock is thinking is, first of all, this is the worst gig ever, being a funny comedian at the Oscars. That's a terrible
gig,
right? And he's not a big like improv guy. Like he likes to do jokes and polish them, you know. So Will Smith is coming on stage, and you're like, all right, I'm going to have to. It's an Oscar moment, right? So I got to get ready. Whatever Will Smith wants to improv, and I'll bet you, up until Contact, I'll bet you he thought it was like a fake.
Right.
I'm sure. Like that's what I would have thought, and I would have been, because I don't like to have to deal like until it hit him. I bet he didn't even realize it was an actual thing until right when it hit him.
I think he didn't hit him hard.
No, but I mean,
think he just
it's still
did
shocking.
I mean, definitely. Well, people are like, why didn't it knock him down? But I don't think he hit him hard. I think he probably wanted to hit him hard, then realized when he was about to hit him.
It's so
weird to watch.
Oh my God!
Did that really happen? Is it terrible slap?
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, I got to keep the show going. Like, there's a big gig. There's nothing worse than.
And now he's feeling it. Right now, his adrenaline spiked. And he's like, what the fuck? Keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth. Look at Chris.
I mean, what a hell gig, dude. Anyway,
so
I bet he has a great set right now.
I hear he's fucking murdering.
I'll
Segura
bet.
went to see him. He said it was awesome. He said it was awesome. He said it's like Chris Rock from Bigger and Blacker, like Bring the Pain, that level, just boom,
Will
just
Smith.
crushing. Will Smith reignited the beast.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, man. He probably wanted to be a part of that whole fucking industry thing. That's why you host the Oscars in the first place, right?
Oh, that's a good point, too.
And then get slapped by this guy who winds up winning the Oscar, and they give him a fucking standing ovation after you got slapped by that guy. They all cheer and stand up. Like,
once you see it, you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, these are crazy people.
I saw it. I remember when, what's his name? At the Emmys when Jeffrey Tambor won for Transparent. Remember he got like Me Too'd off that show? Because he was sexually harassing the trans co-stars?
They were saying that.
Yeah, and I remember, so this is before any Caitlyn Jenner.
He was saying he didn't do anything.
I mean, I kind of believe, I think they wanted him off the show. So here's why I think they just want him off the show. When, because, well, I think Jill Soloway's not Jill Soloway now. But at the time.
Okay.
Won the Emmy. I remember she was like, fight the patriarchy. Like, sweetie, do you think the patriarchy is not in charge of you? Like, you have this reminder to let you know who's in charge. It's like all sharp, like, it'll stab you if you. So he goes, if I could be the last cis man to play a trans woman, I wouldn't be sad. And the whole crowd's like, yeah. Like, I'm just watching. It's like if Al Jolson was like, if I could be the last blackface performer. And they're all like, oh. And so just a couple years later, I'm sure all those people would be like, how dare you have played. But they were all rooting for it. And I'm like, I bet half of you have never even watched the show. Probably more.
Do you know the hardcore feminists are now, the TERFs are now using the term woman face?
I've been saying that. I have a whole joke about that for a while, and I've yet to hear why. I remember years ago asking somebody, a producer, when that was Rachel Dolezal. Mm-hmm. Remember?
Right.
And I was just asking this. This was not as big a controversy of a thing at the time, but I was like, well, how is that different? Because I knew a bunch of people that were trans. It was in New York for 20 years.
They're transracial.
Yeah, like I'm just asking, why can't you be that? Okay, I've never gotten and I've tried to find a satisfying answer. I've never gotten one. But this person, I'll never forget. I thought about. He just goes, Kurt. That's the answer. Like, I thought about that for years, dude. It's just like, don't do this. That's the answer to just asking a question like that. And in fact, I would say everything I can't stand in every business is that the hill you want to die on? I've heard people say.
That's a good one.
I've heard people say it for years. And what the fuck does that mean? That means like you're running for office. Do I tell the truth about this now, or do I save my political capital for like when it's really important to be honest? Like I'm not running for anything. I can be honest whenever the fuck I want. But you're supposed to have that. Like, is this the hill? Why do I have to die in a hill about?
You're asking a question that's a
Am I gonna
legitimate
be
question.
Killed?
But it's a funny thing that there's certain things you're not allowed to question. Like,
yeah, Kanye was right about that part of knowing you shouldn't talk. Like, I remember in his interview, right, with Tucker, Kyle did an impression of it.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, I did see
Kyle
that.
does
The rap,
Tucker.
when he does the rap thing.
But one thing Kanye
When
said,
Tucker
which
raps.
is a good point, is you just train to know what to not even get into. It's not a thing of being afraid of any specific thing. Just be afraid of those are the like you're a human AdSense bot. You're like, oh, that might not be good for my right around the time when you became a brand. I remember it was having a brand.
Yeah.
Then you are a brand, so you're not even the cow anymore that gets branded. You're the fucking brand. That's what you are now.
That's when I know not to talk to a person.
Yeah.
I love what you've done with your brand, Kurt.
Oh my God. No one has ever said that to me once.
Not once? I just did. I'm so glad I'm the first.
No one has ever
I've had a
told me
dozen.
I handled my brand well.
I've had a dozen people tell me that.
Well, but okay, that's your brand.
But
That's
what does
still
that-
better than
But it's still nonsense.
yeah. But that was the first. So somebody, I bet I could guess their age from if they said I love your brand because there was a time when that was
36.
yeah. But
Right in that.
but then it became you are the brand.
Yes.
So you wouldn't even think about it of it belonging to
Yeah.
you. You're it.
How do you manage yourself as a brand, Kurt?
Not well. Like 3 kids on each other's shoulders with a trench coat trying to get into a dirty movie. Gerard told me I look like that.
That's a perfect fucking description.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Oh, that's a perfect description.
Gerard said to me a long
Oh my
time ago.
God.
And that's exactly how I walk downstairs. And not an ounce of coordination.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, there's some creepy ass thing that happened where you like. So when all that you fight, people fight. You know, and they go, "Is it hurting comedy? Cancel culture? Is it hurting?" Like, it's not hurting. Comedy is probably the only way you can talk now. It's hurting if you're just saying what you think.
It's one of the few things that you can still talk about ridiculously controversial shit.
Yeah,
and make jokes as long as it's funny.
It's much worse than it killing comedy. It's killing you just speaking your mind.
Yeah,
and you
having opinions at the workplace.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, but everything is based on: are you representing the company?
Right.
Like in your personal time, how is your life reflecting the company? And that's what all that little cancel bullshit. What it did is made your life. Hey,
not just the company, but universities. Like,
Yeah.
did you hear about that kid that got his scholarship revoked because there was a video of him singing along to a rap song and he says the N word?
I mean, how many
It's
of
like-
the?
What was the story with that?
He's a big college football recruit.
Yeah, pull that story up.
How the hell? Okay. By the way, how the hell is Justin Trudeau the prime minister with like 3 blackface incidents that I know of? I mean, have you ever seen how insane it looks?
That is the least of my worries with that guy.
No, I know, but it's such an amazing.
The scary thing with him is what they're doing with the WEF.
Wait, does it say the rap N word?
Yeah, he rapped along
Oh, he
to some
rapped.
song. He raps N word on camera, loses University of Florida scholarship.
Is it
so
like-
he
yeah.
it's not his own rap, right?
Dude, especially in Florida.
Was
like-
he singing along to a song, along to the words, and posted it? What is it? Click on what it says there. I was in my car listening to rap music, rapping along to the words, and posted a video of it on social media. He wrote, "I deeply apologize for the words in the song that I chose to say. It was hurtful and offensive and to many people, and I regret that." And
So
they
would he
took away his
lose?
scholarship.
Okay, but he still could be prime minister of Canada, though.
He actually, I mean, he didn't. I guess he had a scholarship. He's just not. He wasn't even enrolled yet. He's still in high school.
Oh.
It's like he's gonna go somewhere else. Probably.
So he can't get a scholarship.
That's what
there.
at that school. Someone else, a professional player, was like, he'll probably get a scholarship somewhere else though. Just not this school.
So did he used to have a scholarship there and they revoked it?
I don't even know if I'll look and see if they revoked it. He might have just stepped down and just been like, all right, let's just not get involved in this.
No, I fully accept the consequences of my action. I
Decision to withdraw,
respect the
yeah.
University of Florida's decision to withdraw my scholarship offer to play football.
Yeah, it's just an offer though.
But
Still
they
hadn't been in
okay. So they did have a scholarship offer to him, and they withdrew it. That was the thing.
Do you see the con here? He had an offer to go smash his brain into Swiss cheese and not be compensated properly. That's been revoked.
Speaking of Swiss cheese, have you ever seen that video of Mickey Mouse making Swiss cheese with his dick?
No.
There's an old Mickey
that
Mouse
Walt
cartoon.
Disney himself made.
Someone from the Walt Disney organization.
Will
I don't want to pin it on Walt.
Will I get to see it now?
Yeah, watch. So he's fucking. He's got
with his bone.
dick.
Okay, but he's wearing pants.
He's got a boner, and he's putting holes in his Swiss cheese with his boner.
I always knew that's how.
Look
they
at
did
that.
It.
Mickey has a boner, and he's making Swiss cheese with his dick.
My God, look at him.
I mean, it's in the middle of his fucking pants. It's not in any other place other than where your dick's supposed to be. What are we supposed to think there?
I don't know.
That's 100% Mickey's dick.
I feel like watching Jon Stewart hanging a medal on a Nazi right now.
How crazy is that?
I'm gonna read, but Snopes says this is false, even though we just watched it.
What does Snopes say?
Why does it say it's false?
Because Snopes is bought and paid
it says
for,
it's
bro.
not doing what we're seeing.
Does this? Okay, what does Snopes say? Does this Disney cartoon show Mickey Mouse inappropriately making Swiss cheese?
Okay, you got to read these because they're sometimes crazy.
Why? Why is it false?
Oh, somebody made it?
The bit of animation was created in 2011.
Yeah, that's what I was going to figure out. Someone might have just made this, made it look old.
Oh.
So this bit of animation was created on the B3TA board, an internet forum that frequently features photoshopped images, in March of 2011. But even without knowing the source behind the image, viewers can spot many other factors that demonstrate it was not part of an official Disney film. I, for one, rest easy now.
Oh, maybe
this
somebody's
is,
fake.
Like a recent TikTok trend. These things go fast and viral on TikTok, and no one fact checks anything.
Oh, so it's a Steamboat Willie. So they cut out.
Yeah, TikTok is really.
I didn't think it could be possible. And if I thought it was possible, the thing that was getting me, like, how do I not know this yet?
No, that's what I was thinking. Because The Little Mermaid, just the mere suggestion that there were dicks hidden in the background of the cover.
Was there?
Yeah, the Little Mermaid thing that
there was dicks hidden?
I don't even know if that's to this day if that was real or not. Do you remember the stuff that would go around when I was a kid?
I don't remember
this.
the little. Do you remember the Little Mermaid one?
I don't know that specifically, but there's it's a meme itself that there's a whole bunch of hidden stuff in old Disney stuff.
Do you remember these misinformations?
Some of it looks real, and some of it is.
Some of it could be like
what
this,
are
though,
you
right?
talking about? Yeah.
Some of it could be like the bone. How did he make Swiss cheese? How did Mickey? So the whole Mickey Swiss cheese thing was fake. There was no Swiss cheese factory. That's hilarious.
Wow.
The phallus, so this says the phallus purposely added the artwork for the Little Mermaid VHS cover is also not real, but I don't have to look at this.
They got you, Kurt.
It could be Photoshopped.
We
This could be the
didn't
same
have
thing.
any. Remember this? Did you ever hear this rumor? Like this when I was in high school, this was going around, and it was usually like church people, I heard it from a sister and Jehovah's Witness, but I also heard it from like kids that were like evangelical. That Procter and Gamble, the shampoo magnates, I guess, went on. It was Phil Donahue. I've heard other talk shows, but Phil Donahue to announce that they worship Satan, and that's why they're putting a satanic symbol on the shampoo.
What?
Yeah, and Phil Donnahue's like, don't you think like Christians are going to be mad? And then they go, there's not enough Christians to stop us. I heard that exact thing go around. And I was 17 when I heard it. It didn't sound, it didn't sound plausible to me as a 17-year-old.
Look at this. The company spent decades battling false claims that it was in league with the devil. That's, you know what that's like? That's like the Richard Gere gerbil in the ass rumor.
Yeah, right.
Just went across
He
the country.
blamed Stallone for many years. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
He said Stallone did it?
Yeah, that was like, because I would check that news. I knew.
Him and Stallone were feuding?
I think it's like 65 years before the government releases if that happened. It's even longer than...
Did Sylvester Stallone start the Richard Gere gerbil rumor? An investigation. Oh, they investigated.
Because that's not even a thing, right? People don't actually do that.
I don't know. Do they do that?
I'm sure somebody tried
someone's
after
done
the
that.
rumor, but it's,
Dude, my buddy Steve worked, he did his residency in Miami in the 1980s during the cocaine days. So he did a lot of time in the emergency room. He said, we found everything up people's asses.
Oh, yeah, everything
G.I.
in your
Joe
home.
dolls, light bulbs. They found light bulbs up a guy's ass.
Oh, yeah, everything.
Coke bottles, everything.
Yeah, I used to have a joke about that, of humans being the only animal to sometimes stick other animals in their ass. That's how you know we're superior. We don't have to just eat you.
We'll use you as a suppository.
Yeah, whatever.
Just for shits and giggles.
I ran out of things to use you for.
Dan Savage says this is an unverified and persistent urban legend.
Because once people say a stupid thing like that, though, someone will try it.
Well, we don't think it's real. But what was the root of it? Like, who started it? But that was one of those things. Like, if you're Richard Gere and you walked into a party, like, people would start like making
I know.
jokes.
Did it harm his career? Do you think that?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, it certainly harmed his reputation if people thought it was real. Wait, imagine a rumor that spreads across the entire country about you sticking a rat in your ass.
Yeah.
But no one else.
I'd
just
be
you.
upset. I might want to point fingers at Stallone.
There's no Clint Eastwood rumors of a rat in the ass. Here's what we know. Gere claims he never had a gerbil in his butt. Imagine having to just having to say that they win. Stallone claims he never started the rumor, although we must now investigate his hatred for chicken mustard grease. What?
What? Oh, I missed the first part.
It said no one can corroborate the definitive start of the rumor nor the validity of it ever happening, and the world spins madly on. Okay.
But they wouldn't get corrected, those things. You know, like the Procter & Gamble was so dumb. There's no internet. It was just word of mouth.
Oh, that's so crazy. If that happens, like this Balenciaga thing that I sent you, Jamie.
Oh, yeah.
What is that about?
That's probably some firm like pushing the envelope for Balenciaga. I think it's hilarious because Balenciaga, you know, they're one of them like your Coco Chanel fascist era. They're friends with the guy was friends with Franco Cristobal Balenciaga. So, you know, their image, they made like disavow Kanye or something.
Yes.
And they're like a former Nazi company.
Well, they disavowed Kanye, and then people started, I guess, looking into them.
But from
coincidentally at the same time, all this stuff started coming out. I don't know what.
I never heard of them. I guess that's like a high up there. Like
it's one of those things you hear about, but I have no interest in purses. So I hear about Balenciaga. I'm like, okay.
Is that what it is?
They make purses?
What
do they make?
Sunglasses.
What do they make, Jamie? It's like high-end fancy shit.
Yep.
That shit doesn't mean anything to me. I
Yeah,
hear
I
about that.
know.
I'm like, okay. It's like you won a game of Go. Congratulations. I'm sure you're smart.
When I went to China, there was, I didn't see anything that looked like communism there. I saw like almost an 80s movie, kind of hyper like that, you know, like name brand. But there's a lot of counterfeit stuff. So I'm in a hotel. I ate nothing. I had a hard time finding Chinese stuff.
Like, what'd you eat?
Like hotel
Burgers?
food. Yeah, by the way, very well done. I don't mean cooked well done. I mean good food. Like it was very good, but I had. So it was like and it wasn't that expensive at the time. It was like in 2016 before the election. And they were kind of into Trump, the people that I talked to at the time.
Really?
They're like, he's a businessman, so he's good. See, it was like very like that when I was there. And this girl in front of me had on this jacket with like a price tag hanging off the back. And I don't remember what. It's like something thousands of probably yuan. And but hanging off the back of the jacket.
To let everybody know how much it cost.
It was such a big price tag. It looked like, remember Minnie Pearl from Hee Haw with the hat? It was like that big. And the jacket was an Ed Hardy jean jacket that was clearly not made by Ed Hardy. So it was clearly a knockoff. And when I went there, they used to have this cool black market around Shanghai where you could find like, what I wish I could have got was the Nike Reeboks. They had sneakers that said both Nike and Reebok on them. But that was all over with by the time I got there.
But they still have entire stores over there that are Apple stores that are not really Apple stores.
Oh,
like
yeah.
everything in there is counterfeit.
Yeah, because I think I view IPs differently than here.
Yeah, they don't at all.
Right.
They're like tough shit.
Yeah, it's like I don't even understand why I wouldn't do this thing.
Well, it's like the scooping up of intellectual information. What they do with, like that's why Huawei got banned in the United States because they think they're using their routers to scoop up information. So if you're creating something, you're in some company. Chinese authorities shut down elaborate fake Apple service
That is
center.
very elaborate because that does not.
The last story I could find, 2018, most of them were saying there's a few of them around, and then this says they shut it down.
Oh, they shut it down. Well, it makes sense because Apple probably has a nice, tidy business deal with them over there.
Dude, in L.A.,
$43,000 fine.
I can't believe they don't shut down every weed store that looks like an Apple store for some reason. There's like screens.
I know,
like, this is really intentional.
You buy weed with a tablet on a nice oak table.
Is this why the weed costs more than illegal now?
It's a lot more.
Yeah.
But I'll pay. I'll pay. Just look, the amount of money that you actually spend on weed, even if weed is more than it is now, in comparison to alcohol, it's not even comparable.
Yeah, right.
Especially if you like to drink expensive shit. Like Clase Azul tequila or something, or some old scotch. That shit's really expensive.
Yeah, right.
For like $50, how many drinks can you get?
Well, have you
know
seen
how high you can get with $50?
Have you seen those like $1,000 joints? Speaking of joints, you ever see that with
$1,000 joints?
Yeah, I'll see videos pop up online where it'll be like, I can't remember who it was. It was some rapper, and they were showing him joints that were like 40,000. It was crazy.
What?
Yeah, did you?
What is it?
You know what I'm talking about, Jamie? There's
2 Chainz does this here.
Oh, that's what it was. It was 2 Chainz. Yeah,
$24,000 joint.
The most expensive.
That's pretty big though, actually.
Oh, is it made with gold? Is that what it is?
Definitely wrapped in gold.
Oh, so you're smoking gold.
That's good for you, probably.
For a good cause, though. He created that weed for a good cause.
What was the cause?
To get fucked up.
I'm sure they're donating.
And
all
then
that
they
money,
donate the money to the African Wildlife Foundation.
Doesn't mining the gold for the rapper probably harm wildlife more than?
Well, this is separate from that one.
Oh,
what is that one?
Actually, the one he smoked was $50K.
Oh my God!
And I don't know why.
So look at this. He's gonna open it up. Luxury. Those are $50K. Those
see.
Coronas.
Maybe.
What?
I mean, I'm sure they explain why, but it might not make sense.
It's $420. That's all. 12 grams of flour.
Because probably they build up to one that's 50 grams.
I like how the real potheads call it flour. 12 grams of flour.
Oh, I know that really. I remember it being like, I'm not calling it cannabis. It used to be a thing like a guy with a ponytail would say to you, and now it's
plant medicine. It's plant medicine, man.
I'm harvesting the cannabis.
I'm getting all my flowers.
But I'll tell you what's great about California is I always meet some cool person that grows a lot. That just hooks me up.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of good growers. But that's the thing about like the cannabis business. A lot of fucking really cool people involved in the cannabis business because they're selling cannabis, so they're getting high all the time. So they're really kind of cool and passionate.
Well, a good friend of mine, who I won't say, but back in New York, who ended up having a pretty good cannabis business, and there was something like he was like working with the city government on the down low because to see about legalize, they work with people. New York has all those deliveries, and that delivery of weed scene was like pretty surprisingly violent to me. Of like bicycle guys, like that. What's that HBO show, High Maintenance, about a guy who delivers weed on his bike? Half Baked was all about that. The delivery. Like he had to get a friend to be his bodyguard and stuff. That people get stabbed. And I remember going like, wow, there's all that over weed? He goes, no, it's over money. I go, oh, right.
Of course.
I didn't even, it's just weed, man.
Well, you remember when Denver made it legal, but then they couldn't do business with credit cards? Because banks didn't want to do business with them, so they had to do business in cash. And then they had to take the cash, and they had to multiple times a day drive with the cash to the bank. So they hired like SEALs and like mercenaries to fucking ride with them.
And these banks, by the way, were later caught taking cartel money for much worse drugs. Every single thing, all the Epstein.
Well, they took the money, I think, but they wouldn't do business with credit cards. Credit card companies wouldn't do business with it.
The nerve of a credit card.
Federally, I think the idea is that federally it's still illegal. I don't know. I think they've
maybe
relaxed
that
now. Find out if you can.
Wait, that probably makes legal sense though, because if you could get busted any minute.
Everywhere I've been, the way that if you use a card, it's still doing some weird thing where you're paying somebody else and then they're paying them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
you're paying somebody else.
They do some weird transaction where like you pay $5 extra and they accept you text them the number and whatever the fuck.
What are we doing? It's 2022. This is ridiculous. Just tax it.
In fact, I used to say that. Now I'm like, maybe let's make sure you know what California has completely fucked that up. Do you know how the illegal market is now? I guess like bigger than the legal market, which is surprising to me.
Well, because it's also a misdemeanor. I had this guy, John Norris, who wrote this book it's called Hidden War.
Yeah.
And it's about how their cartels are growing weed on public forestry. They go to public forest land, like in the fucking California mountains and shit.
Yeah.
And they set up these grow ops and they grow weed and they stay there and they camp there and they're using these fucking like seriously dangerous pesticides and herbicides and the shit gets in the water supply.
Well, they're also like to even go into business, the way it's. I think all these places, when they legalize it, want to have like a monopoly that's in cozy with like whatever politician is putting it through, because they make it hard. You have to have like half an illegal grow to support your legal grow, because you have to have so many, I don't know, however they measure it, to legally be able to do it. And it's made that way on purpose to make sure it's like only like a real big money place can do it.
I'm not exactly sure what you mean. Like what?
There's a whole Vice thing about it. They had something for prisoners in LA, like it's like black prisoners released from the drug war stuff, where they get first dibs on getting licensed to grow.
Jesus.
And so, I mean, if you got caught,
Can you imagine getting arrested for something and then you get first dibs on license to grow it legally? What the fuck did you arrest me for?
They should get that, by the way. I don't have any issue with that. But guess what? They can't get it. It's even fucked up for them. They just fucked it up. California stinks, dude. They can't, I don't have like kids or a house there or anything, so it's no skin off my, but I don't know what the hell, like.
There's a lot of regulations, that's for sure. But there's so much money from that legal cannabis. Like, how much good has that done? I mean, I'd like to know, like, what's the benefit? What's the cost benefit for the state for having it legal? Like, how much? I mean, California must make a lot of money.
Yeah, where does it all go?
They're taxing the shit out of it. What's the annual amount of money marijuana brings in tax?
2020 to 2021 fiscal year, California collected about $817 million.
I like the homeless.
That's a good chunk. But what is that?
I don't think that includes the local taxes, which is different too. And then there's like an excise tax, and I have no idea what that is. There's like 3 taxes on it. Which is why there's a bunch of articles. I can't get past a paywall to see it right now. I'm trying to. That's saying exactly what he's saying, that the illegal market over the last year has jumped up a bunch.
Because of that?
Yeah.
Because you tax the shit out of it.
Well, they don't, the homeless.
What I was getting at, though, let me finish that before I forget. The reason why the cartels grow on forest land is because it's legal here. It's just a misdemeanor.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So if you're growing illegally, it's not like a gigantic penalty.
Yeah, wow.
Make sure that's true. I know that was true at one point in time, but if you're caught growing marijuana illegally in California, it's a misdemeanor.
You're causing a stampede at the border right now.
I think they're so lenient about it because it is legal to grow it in the state, and so there's some weird fucking reason why they decided to do it there. I think he said something like 90% of the illegal weed.
You can grow up to 6 plants, but the law makes it a misdemeanor if you grow in excess of that.
Yeah, so that's illegal cultivation of marijuana, although adults 21 and older are now permitted to grow up to 6 plants. So if you grow more than 6 plants, the law makes it a misdemeanor offense. That's it. A conviction is punishable by 6 months in jail. That ain't shit.
Yeah.
So if you're making fucking bank for the cartel.
And then they catch you and you're like, joke's on you, pal. I'm not even from here.
So he had to develop a tactical force to deal with these people because they're getting shot at. So
who did?
John Norris, this guy that wrote that book.
I seen that guy. Yeah,
he signed up to be a game warden. He liked going outdoors and doing some fishing. He'd be like, "Be good to be a game warden." You go, you check people's licenses. How you doing, sir? Make sure everybody's up to regulation.
Yeah.
Good job. You're in the outdoors.
Did you see a Bigfoot?
And then they started finding things like creeks that were dried up. And they're like, why is this creek dried up? Well, we'll chase it down. They go up to the top of the creek thinking that like maybe a beaver did something or a farmer did something. And then they found these tubes that diverted all the water to this illegal grow op. And they go there and these people are using all these toxic chemicals.
Right.
One of the guy's dogs got shot. Like, it's crazy shit. Like, they're having gunfights with these people in the middle of the fucking forest because these are cartel guys.
Yeah, right.
So they basically developed like a tactical unit.
Right.
So he went from being a game warden, I'm going to check people's fishing licenses,
yeah, right,
to being a guy who's like in a shootout with a cartel in the woods.
Yeah, it's really wild.
Wild. And it's because it's a misdemeanor. So because it's a misdemeanor to grow a bunch of plants illegally, they just fucking grow anywhere they want.
If so, federally now, because that bullshit, like this is, I heard people, this is an important first step, that thing Biden did. That
he didn't do anything.
Yeah, right.
I thought it was good too, and then I looked into it.
Yeah,
there's nobody in jail nobody's in federal prison for marijuana possession.
Well, you don't get pulled over by the FBI and busted for simple marijuana possession. You haven't had that problem.
Marijuana possession is not that big of a crime. It's dealers and growers that get big sentences, and they're not letting them out. That's the difference. First of all, it should be fucking legal. We're not babies.
Why isn't it though?
It's
There's
because
people paying to keep it illegal.
it's crazy. We should demand the legality of it. It's a human rights issue. You should have access to it.
You could demand all you want.
It has benefits to a lot of people that use it. It's real benefits that people enjoy, and people that don't enjoy those benefits are telling you not to do it. Because if they did enjoy those benefits, they would never tell you shouldn't do it.
Oh, I think that a lot of them do. It's just they enjoy they've calculated what profit loss there is. That's why all the lobbyists to keep it illegal. Did you ever look up the lobbies? Hilarious.
What are they?
You know, it's like pharmaceutical companies, of course, and alcohol companies, because they're like, we get regulated. Like they're just going to make another drug and not some police union. I think the private prison lobby.
I've heard that. I've heard private prison guards unions.
Yeah, you got to keep them full. But they're just why are they even
using
lobbying?
human beings in their lives like a battery to generate money. That's what it is.
Yeah,
there's
shit.
No reason whatsoever that you should be able to tell a person that you can get drunk, but you can't get high.
Dude,
that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Do you know, I just found this out. I mean, it makes me laugh. I mean, it's a terrible story. But you ever hear the last slave legally freed in America is 1942?
What?
Yeah, the guy's name is Irving something or something Irving. And
what?
They use everything debt peonage, where you get busted for some dumb charge like vagrancy or something for $75, and then a guy's like, "I'll pay your fine, and you can come and work on my plantation." And they lock you up like a slave, and you can't.
Whoa.
So, and then they finally, I think a white guy, because then it wasn't limited to black people. If you're like some kid was visiting down south and got caught up in it and died, I think that's why it made the papers, this debt peonage thing, and their defense in court was, no, we're not doing debt peonage. We have slaves.
Oh my
and so
God.
they couldn't prosecute them. And they didn't stop it until like 1942 after Pearl Harbor, because the Japanese, and this is in the newspapers, the Japanese were using it as propaganda that we still have slaves. Yeah, it's just like a hilarious, like, to use that as your defense, and that's how you get out of it. That's an amazing.
So you could go when a person was locked up and offered to buy them out.
It's how they
they
kept
would have to
it going.
work it off.
You always hear about like slavery,
But they would
Jim
be able
Crow.
to decide how much you got paid.
That's how we got all these, like we're talking about, where is there a quota? All this shit grew out of that, is like, and some of these places, it's all inertia. Like in Texas, I don't know how big, maybe it's bigger news in the state, but I was trying to figure out, because I was like, if all this like prison labor, if you think like illegal immigration is lowering wages, like I bet all the prison labor lowers wages a lot, right? So I go to look it up, and then here in Texas, it's not even profitable. They have people picking cotton, and it's not even better than just doing it, not having that, but they've just had it for so long. It's just
so
like
they
momentum.
have slaves pick cotton here
in
Texas?
If I'm saying this right. So, it's in the 13th Amendment. All like state property, when you're a prisoner, you're a slave. That's like written into.
Well, I know they can use you for wildfires, right?
But slave means your property, right? That's what it means. It's not like you had to work for a low wage. Your state property. That's what you're called as a prisoner, and that's why they may had the amendment to free the slaves, but that's in there still.
But do they here's the thing, when it comes to things like fighting wildfires, do they have any say whether or not they fight a wildfire? Because they use them sometimes as cheap labor. So do you think they get to choose whether or not they do it?
Yeah, I'm sure. If I'm in prison,
but wasn't
I probably
that
would
one
want
of
to
the
get out of
things?
it.
That's one of the things that Tulsi Gabbard during that big debate moment with Kamala Harris.
You had those guys on talking about that.
Yes, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to disrupt the prison labor, so she doesn't release. The federal government says you got to release these people.
Well, she used them to fight wildfires. But the thing is, it's like, what does that mean? Do you give them an option? Do you just tell them they have to fight a wildfire no matter what? Prisoners who want to enter the conservation camp program must meet security requirements and undergo 2 weeks of training. The all-inmate crews live in so-called fire camps and are led by personnel from the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, or CAL FIRE. They earn between $2.90 and $5 a day.
Boy,
depending on their duties. That's insane.
I bet they
and
got
slightly more when actively fighting a fire.
Oh.
Slightly more. I'm going to give you a bump to
There's some upsell potential.
310 and 520 when fighting a fire. Though their numbers have fluctuated over the years, they have often comprised approximately 1/3 of California's firefighting force.
That's a lot.
So to put it on in a positive spin,
yeah.
is it possible that it's one of those things like if you're a specialist in times of war and they need to make you work, they need to redraft you. We need you for this very specific
You signed
thing.
up to be property.
If you signed up to be a part of this crew and you were trained and then a wildfire broke out, maybe it was part of the agreement when you signed up that if some shit hit the fan, they were allowed to keep you longer because you were very difficult to train. But if you signed up for this program, it would lead to you maybe getting paroled or earlier.
Yeah, I've seen the Dirty Dozen. I know how. I know how that.
I'm just.
Yeah, you
like,
could also
looking...
sign up for medical experimentation. Prison sucks.
Yeah.
Like I bet I would like go fight a forest fire if I was in the California penal system.
If you had to choose between experimental medications and fighting a forest fire.
Dude, maybe the forest fire because. And I've experimented with many medications.
Yeah, but on your own free will.
Yeah, and if they're like, hey, okay, we don't want to use it, like lab rats aren't enough, but we can't use it on the people that aren't owned by the state. We're going to see prisoners first. Those are the ones you probably never want to be in the test for.
Right.
The ones they take to prisoners is my guess.
Yeah.
It's not great when you see their process with non-prisoners testing. No. I bet it's really not good when they could do whatever they want, you know?
Especially if you're a piece of shit.
I mean, that's the premise of so many horror movies.
You got a bunch of fucking murderers sitting around, bunch of horrible people, thieves.
And plus, I imagine like our amazing system really, really improves.
Yeah. If you got a guy who's like killed a bunch of women, why wouldn't you practice some shit on him?
Once it's okay.
Get some serial killer guy in there. Give him the fucking, see what happens, a full dose.
It's a premise a lot of video games and very good movies. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Manhunt. Remember that Rockstar game, Manhunt?
Well, you know that whole CIA connection to Charles Manson happened when he was in prison.
Did you see, who's the guy who played Machete? I'm blanking. Danny Trejo, that actor?
No.
You know who he is,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, sure.
I saw him telling a story about being in the joint with Charles Manson. He said he was like this little ratty guy that had like a rope for a belt, but he could hypnotize you to feel like you were on heroin. But the only thing is you had to have done heroin before. So his one friend, it wouldn't work on him, but him and his buddy, he said, guy hypnotized him and they threw up and got high.
Whoa.
I happened to see you have that author on here and then saw that Danny show. I was like, that's a weird story. He could hypnotize you to feel like you were high on heroin. This is before all that stuff.
Tom O'Neill, who wrote the book Chaos, which is a fucking amazing book all about this. He went deep down the rabbit hole for 20 years writing this book. It's meticulously researched.
Yeah, right. I saw that interview.
The CIA 100% did these drug experiments with people in the 1960s. It was the 1950s as well. When did it start? But they did it. It's like documented.
Well, it was good of them to come forward, admit to it, and move on from there.
They did these things where they would dose Johns in brothels. So these guys would go to a whorehouse looking to hook up with some ladies.
That's a psychedelic. What's it called again? MK Ultra. Is that what that is?
Yeah, same thing. Manson was first talked the group into thinking they were smoking weed and then heroin. By the time he described it hitting my bloodstream, I felt the warmth flowing through my body, Trejo remembers. If that white boy wasn't a career criminal, he could have been a professional hypnotist.
That's wild, dude.
So he hypnotized them into feeling like they were doing heroin.
Have you ever been hypnotized?
But no, yeah, I have been. I think they probably taught him how to do that. And I think that was part of this was part of what the book doesn't, it doesn't say for a fact this is what they did. But what it does is point a lot of evidence to the fact that this guy, who was the head of MK Ultra, Jolly West, definitely visited Manson in prison. Manson had access to LSD. When he would get arrested, he would get released. They would say it was above their pay grade. All points indicate that he was like
classic,
taught
Yeah.
He was taught how to take these people and lead them, and that he was taught how to do it with LSD,
Yeah.
and that he was supplied LSD. And
That
then
was
when
creepy, him talking about that.
It's crazy because once you know that they definitely did experiments on people with LSD, they 100% did that. So then you got to go, well, how many people and what was the extent of this stuff? Like, when did they end this? Like, how much did it affect of culture? How much did it affect of people going fucking nuts and jumping off buildings? Like, what exactly happened?
Did you ever see the thing about the gay bomb
What
from
was
the
that?
90s? It was a... It was, I
Oh,
swear
that's
that-
right. That's right. They were thinking of like coming up with a bomb that they could drop on a city and make everybody gay.
Yeah, it sounds so crazy, but it is a real thing.
That was
that's what it is.
That was in 1994. The U.S. military actually considered building a gay bomb.
It was to debilitate.
This could be a great South Park movie.
Well, I mean, you just told me in the beginning it's about a guy that successfully sued because he became gay and gambly.
Yeah.
Like,
why?
So we know it's possible to do this.
Researchers at the Wright Laboratory in Ohio, a predecessor to today's United States Air Force Research Laboratory, began exploring some alternative options. What existed, they asked, that would distract or delude a soldier long enough to mount an attack without causing the soldier any bodily harm. The answer seemed obvious: sex. But how could the Air Force make that work to their advantage? In an act of brilliance or insanity, they came up with the perfect plan.
Wait, is that
So
really
the perfect
true?
plan.
All soldiers' one weakness is...
Oh, my God.
Oh, pheromones.
Okay, they put together a 3-page proposal in which they detailed their $7.5 million invention, the gay bomb. The gay bomb would be a cloud of gas that would discharge over enemy camps that contained a chemical that would cause enemy soldiers to become gay and to have their units break down because all their soldiers became irresistibly attractive to one another.
Dude, that would be a great series, like somebody, you're a secret, and you get to use all the failed.
That's
like you have a gay ball, like you have access to all like the kind of embarrassing things that they worked on.
But how funny is the way they look at gay people? They think that if everybody just became gay, they would
stop.
just totally be distracted about this whole war thing
Well,
and just want to fuck.
They didn't start with gay. They go, what's the way to distract soldiers? And they're like, sex. So are you telling me all soldiers can just be distracted by sex at any moment?
Even in the middle of a firefight.
In the middle of a firefight. I always thought
Someone
they were
from
so
an alleyway.
focused.
Come here.
They were struck. Is that how we lost Vietnam?
Among the more comical ideas was a bomb titled Who, Me?, which simulated flatulence among the ranks, hopefully distracting the soldiers with terrible smells long enough for the U.S. to attack. They have a fart bomb.
Oh, this is
the
what I
idea
like.
was scrapped almost immediately, however, after researchers pointed out that some people throughout the world don't find the smell of
Oh
flatulence
my God.
particularly offensive.
That's racist.
That's hilarious. Oh my God.
So they didn't get to work making this. They're just blue sky in this thing.
They had a
and-
couple of
This is like
What
a sketch
about
show.
A gay bomb.
They wanted
This
a
is-
bomb to make wasps sting people until they would stop.
Wasps?
Make
Wow.
their skin subtly
Unbelievably sensitive to
Who's
the
like,
sun.
dude? Who was the guy that wrote for Hollywood Squares for Whoopi? And he's like a real famous guy. And he's got like big, like Sesame Street monster hair.
Bruce Valanche.
Yeah, did Bruce Valanche come up with their secret weapons?
I read something about wasps that that inject their larvae into other creatures.
Yeah.
That create like a, what would that call, like an alien sort of
Yeah.
infestation thing. There's more of them than there are every other kind of insect.
Well, it is a great idea.
The female wasp injects the caterpillar with her eggs and a virus which shuts down the caterpillar's ability to defend itself against these intruders. The wasp larvae deposited into the caterpillar's body begin to grow beneath the surface, snacking on the caterpillar innards. It's wild to watch.
It comes
But
with a
apparently
virus.
They do. There's a shit ton of different wasps that do this kind of thing.
So the virus is so the body doesn't reject like Like
I guess. They turn other ants into zombies,
Yeah, right.
saving millions of humans along the way.
Oh, I didn't know
What?
about that.
What? Scroll back up to the top again.
It's a trailer to Aliens.
Turns other insects into zombies.
But it says it saved our lives. Is this like another just PR from Big Wasp? That's what I think everything is now.
But what this article was talking about, or was it a video? It might have been a video I was watching, where they were talking about how the sheer number of different parasitic wasps is insane. There's like 100 different ones.
Really?
That inject. Yeah, there's some that do it into the wood. Like there's larvae that go like into the crevices of wood. So they have these long ass pointers
Is this
that
like,
go down in there and inject them inside the wood. There's a wood wasp.
Is this like what Harvey Weinstein did to that plant? Was that part of nature and we put a stop to it?
Pull up the wood wasp. Check this thing out.
Because didn't his penis fall off, much like a wasp sting?
Well, he's got like that crazy gangrene of the dick thing.
I thought
It's like a diabetic sort of.
I didn't even know that was
type
it.
thing.
Boy, if you want to scare people straight from diabetes, you should mention your dick falling off.
So look at that thing it's got at the end of it.
Yeah.
And it shoves that into like these cracks where these larvae are inside of these trees. And
Yeah,
it
right.
injects them.
That's Harvey, all right.
So make sure I'm not fucking that
No,
up.
that's right. It's called a horntail or a wood wasp.
And does it say what they're injecting themselves into?
Let's see.
So there's like a bunch of different wasps that do this type of shit.
Yeah, drills her ovipositor.
Her dick.
That's what the alien.
That's what I'm gonna call my dick from now on. Ovipositor.
I call it. That's what Zuckerberg calls his dick. My ovipositor.
Ovipositor to the rescue.
Nice.
Nearly 3/4 of an inch into the wood. Whoa, 3/4 of an inch of a weakened or dying tree and lays 1 to 7 of her eggs. At the same time, she squirts in a fungus from her abdominal gland. She continues this process, laying up to 200 eggs each. Okay, so this is different. So this is not. This is her larva. She's
It's just in
she's
wood.
shooting it into the wood and then putting this fungus on them.
That-
This is not a
That
eating a
alien's-
softer wood.
It's still
just
a
beneath the
parasite,
bark.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Even if it's against wood.
Yeah, but it's not what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of there's a bunch of different
The
wasps
aliens one.
that inject their larvae into other creatures and they paralyze the creature and then the body just swarms with these little larvae.
Oh, you just reminded me of
There's a
something.
shitload of them like that.
The caterpillar thing, it said it saved human lives because it helps with agriculture and growing stuff. Stopping the caterpillars from eating.
How
all
many
those.
lives? Say 4.
It said 20 million.
That's why.
20 million?
Yeah.
Oh, because caterpillars would eat that many crops?
Yeah.
I
Actually makes sense.
Right here.
And then
Estimated
if
20 million lives.
wow.
Like
Well,
I said, did a wasp write this?
this effort. Oh, so what they do? They dropped them. Look at this. After rearing the wasps and gathering funding, Heron brought planes and coordinated strategic airdrops and ground release of wasp cocoons to areas affected by the mealybug. For those locations, the wasp populations grew and spread on their own, reducing the mealybug population to manageable levels for years. Wow, that's a fucking science experiment.
When did this happen?
1995.
Wow. I always hear
Back
about these
before
things.
the internet. They could just do shit
It always
like that.
feels like the end of Watchmen, where he's like, "I already did the thing like 2 hours ago." Like,
What happened to murder hornets? When we're supposed to be scared of murder hornets?
I never.
What is this one doing? So here's another
Sort
one.
of what you were saying.
They've got the
Video.
fattest ovipositors. Those ones.
They just inject them with their stuff.
Do you know what this
And
is
then they
reminding me of that I want to bring up?
What? Look at all those larvae popping out of its
Ew.
body. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Look at this. It's just injecting its offspring into this thing's body.
Who's the British guy that narrates this?
David Attenborough.
Yeah, with David Attenborough's sexy
Let's hear
voice.
his voice. Go back to where it's like,
Not with paralyzing poison, but with eggs.
yes. What a perfect voice.
So that must be the most horrifying
For
part
nature.
of being those caterpillars is hearing David Attenborough just casually narrate your
How your
painful
demise.
Hey, can you? Thanks, dude. Can you help? No, okay.
Attenborough was the first guy to get to put on television, at least, footage of chimps eating monkeys.
Yeah, there's.
Do you remember that?
I never saw it, but
Oh,
I think it's
dude.
amazing all the things about animals that have been covered up over the years. More than any like UFO would be covered up. The hiding of like things monkeys were into. Like we can't let the public know. Like if you just think of, like, I remember PBS, I think of all the gay animals that you ever heard about, because when they first cataloged them, they didn't want to say like, oh, don't mention that, or like dolphin thing.
You're right. There's got to be a percentage of monkeys that are gay, right? I think all of the bonobo chimpanzees, they're all homosexual.
I wouldn't even put it in gay terms. They just see it. You know, every problem looks like a nail to a hammer.
I think
they just look at it like that.
They just have orgies. They're the weirdest chimp, right?
Ew.
So this is that's a baboon eating a deer.
Yeah, I was trying to find the one where they caught a bird in their cage at the zoo.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Is this a deer in the zoo, or is
No,
this
is
in the
Nature's
wild?
Metal. It's probably in the wild.
Oh man, Nature's Metal is a hardcore account, and it's a lot of that. Like really, like whoa. There was these one hyenas that were like eating this antelope as it was standing there.
Yeah.
And they're pulling just chunks out of its guts. There's a giant hole missing.
Oh
they're
my
just
God.
chewing its innards out. And it's just standing there, paralyzed in pain and fear.
Yeah, so I like the ones where like a dog and turtle are friends. Like they just hang out.
Those are cute. Yeah, look at this one.
Oh.
That's a wildebeest. They're just eating it alive, just tearing it apart while it's alive. It's just laying there, and they're just eating its organs.
Dude, I've never.
Oof.
I could never watch this or Bros.
You're the reason why
You know,
Bros
Annie,
wasn't successful.
Dude, Annie at Comedy Store was like, "Oh, she's told me I got to see it," and because I didn't know what it was, so I'm like, I don't think she was breaking my balls. If she was breaking, that was pretty funny of her. I'm like, why would I? Do you know what it is? I just know the tagline.
It's a gay romantic comedy.
For straight men. It's a gay romantic comedy for straight men.
That'd be a funny thing to say.
Well,
That's a good way to sell it.
I've been bringing this up a lot. I brought it up at the Creek everywhere. One, I'm straight, so I don't even want to see straight romance. That's a little too gay for me. And two, we already have a gay romantic comedy for straight men called Fight Club that we're all very happy with. Because I know you had that guy on, right? Chuck Palahniuk?
Yeah. I've had him on a couple times. He's a fascinating dude. Really interesting guy, man.
Well, I mean, he made the successful, because that's what that is, that movie. Like
It's his writing, though. Like, you should read some of his stuff.
He says the movie's better than the book himself, right? Does he, I thought.
Yeah, he loved the movie.
The movie was good.
But I'm
I really
saying
liked the movie.
it's not just Fight Club, I'm saying some of his other stuff. He wrote a series of horror stories, and one of them is about, I think it's a little girl who turns into a werewolf on a plane.
Yeah.
And it's fucking wild.
I remember a book came out of his that at the time. It's like when I was getting out of.
Make sure that's him who wrote that.
When I was getting out of Art Institute, that people were like throwing up at the readings of some.
Oh, yeah. He's been asked to leave these writers' groups because his stuff was too disturbing. And he talked about that. You know, he talked about like you have to be free to make disturbing things. Otherwise, like, how do you know? How do you know what you're doing? How do you got to be free to express yourself. And some of it's not pretty. And some of the stuff that's not pretty is fucking fascinating to people, especially if
sometimes you got to graphically describe someone's asshole being sucked out of a jet engine. I just got to say it.
Listen, that is how it would go. You have your asshole near the jet engine. It just pulls it right out of your body and wraps it up in a spiral.
They should warn people about it.
Haunted. That's it.
Yeah, that's.
So which one is it? Which story is it? There's one of the stories where there's a
like 13-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Don't. There. Nope.
No. Can't find it. Damn, there's a lot of stories in there. I know.
It's a lot of chapters. Each chapter is
a short story. Oh, there it is.
Go. Dissertation.
The missing link is a Chula Indian on a date with a graduate student who's doing her dissertation on Sasquatches and associated phenomena. She believes that a recent plane crash was caused by a 13-year-old Chula Indian girl who transformed as if a werewolf aboard the plane and caused the crash. She relates her theory to Missing Link, who tells her the girl in question was his sister. Yeah.
Sasquatch. You know what when you were telling me that cartel thing, do you think a bunch of these Sasquatch sightings. It was like a Scooby-Doo. They dressed as a Sasquatch to scare.
It's funny that you say that because there's actually a documentary called Sasquatch, and it's about a Sasquatch killing these guys who are doing the exact same thing we're talking about, grow ops.
Oh, really?
In the Humboldt area, in the mountains up there.
Yeah.
And they murdered these guys, these cartel guys, and blamed it on Sasquatch.
Oh, yeah, because that...
Yeah. It's a good fucking documentary. It's like a series.
Oh, I didn't ever heard of this.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. It's a
is like a
multi-piece
great...
series. Is it on Netflix as well? I don't know. But it was really good. And I had the guy in and talked to him. Really fucking interesting dude. What was his name again, Jamie? But it was a movie about that, about how it became very violent when that whole area became known as growing weed.
Yeah.
David Holthouse. Very interesting guy. I really, really enjoyed the whole series. Got a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's really interesting because it's like the whole thing changed from this like hippie thing to everyone's armed.
Yeah, right.
And people are getting killed. There's like drug wars going on.
Yeah, right.
But you're already invested in the land. This is your business.
Yeah.
You're not going to let people take it from you. And then everything escalates. And then you have fucking shootouts up there.
This sounds like how the Scooby Gang explains the fake Sasquatch. Like they would have got away with it.
I think at one point in time there was a Sasquatch. And I think it's proven. There's a thing called Gigantopithecus, and they think that at one point in time people probably lived alongside those things, and that's probably this sort of myth that goes through all these different cultures. I think at one point in time there probably was a thing like that.
When they discovered hobbits, sure, hobbits, and I guess they were little 3-foot tall people.
Yeah, the island of Flores. Yeah, I talked to a gentleman this past weekend in Hawaii who was explaining to me how they had a similar thing in Hawaii. It was like these 2-foot tall little hairy people. If you think about that whole area, yeah, it's part of the myths and cultures. Myths of their culture, rather. And I don't want to say myths, I should say legend, because it probably was real. At one point in time, somebody probably encountered this little thing that we know for sure existed alongside people.
Yeah.
And it existed on the island of Flores, and they think it existed in other places. They called it the Orang Pendek. There's like different names for it in different parts of the world. But now that we know it was really a thing, all those stories about people seeing them back in the day were probably real.
Because I thought the Flores ones, they hunted like little elephants, something adorable. I swear to God.
Well, there's a thing called island dwarfism.
Yeah, island dwarfism.
Yeah, when you do have like small elephants who live on an island.
Yeah, they would have the team of them would take down a tiny elephant. That's the sweetest.
Sweetest little murder.
You know that wildebeest thing you showed me? If they were little ones, that would be adorable.
Dude, you know how wild that would be to watch?
Chibi animals going down.
Because if they were using tools and weapons, they were hunting things. How wild that would be to watch them. How first of all, how fast do you think they were?
Who, the chasing them?
2-foot tall people?
Well, the thing is, it's just scaled down, so they don't have to be fast. They just have to have longer endurance, right?
Yeah, but they're living in the jungle. Dude, they got to be fast.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's sped up. Comically is how I imagine.
Like a monkey.
I imagine Benny Hill music in the background.
I wonder, like, what a human, if you went back to the original human, like the earliest version of the anatomically, like, current human being, whatever that was, whether it's 500, 700,000 years ago, whatever it was. Yeah. I would love to see what that dude looked like when he walked around. Like, what was that like? What did they do? Like, what was a day in the life of one of those? Imagine following one of those guys. Yeah. Imagine being in a time machine where you could just exist in a bubble that no one could see, and you could follow around some dude living 900,000 years ago. How fucking wild would that be, just to imagine that this guy, just figuring out you could bang rocks into the shape of a tool, that this guy is one day going to pilot an airplane, that this guy's...
I'll bet it's a lot like, do you ever watch like Alaska Wilderness People? And if it's not a reality show there, clipping it together, it's probably real dull. You ever see reality shows made? Right. It's just hours of, so you'd spend hours watching everything, but you'd want someone to aggregate the interesting parts to you.
Look at this. Peter claims these ancient ancestors of ours could theoretically reach sprinting speeds of up to 28 miles an hour.
Wow, that seems fast.
It's not known what speeds the likes of Usain Bolt's Johan Blake or Tyson Gray could reach if they were being chased in fear of their lives. Good point.
How fast can they run, by the way? Usain Bolt.
About 23 is what this says. Suggests a group of humans are capable of running up to 23. Yeah, this guy found some footprints in Australia and used those as.
Didn't they find some footprints that they just discovered like way older than they thought in Spain?
I think they found some in America. They found some footprints in it. Yeah, they definitely found some in Spain, but they found some in America that takes our idea of when human beings were here way back.
Yeah, right.
Like way further than they thought it was. Like way earlier than 11,000 years ago.
Well, just the whole idea there was other.
Here it is. Yeah, it's not as old as they thought. It's thousands of years later, but it's still really fucking old.
Oh, this is in North America.
So what does it say there? What does the top say? It says the discovery of the oldest human footprints in North America thrilled researchers. It turns out they may not be so old. So what did they think they were, and what are they? Okay, so the results implied the footprints that were left behind between 22,800 years ago and 21,130 years ago. Previously, the earliest known humans beings in North America were dated between 14,000 and 16,000 years.
Wow.
If true, the conclusion could upend all manner of assumptions in the field. The team published its findings in Science last year. This is a bombshell. Ruth Gruen, an academic archaeologist not involved in the study, observed it's very hard to disprove. And so then what happened that went bad? What's the difference? Okay, radiocarbon dating on... Go back up a little bit. Radiocarbon dating on ancient grass seeds found in the footprints determined they were made between 23,000 years ago. So what's incorrect about it? It's still really fucking old. What's it saying there? I don't know what they're saying. Because it doesn't seem like they're saying why they think it's not as old.
Yeah, well, at the very it just said it moved it by 1,000 years.
Oh. So it went from 23 to 22,000?
I guess. That's right.
Still old as fuck.
Yeah.
It's like a lot older than they used to think it was.
Yeah,
So okay, so it was 22,000 to 21,000. Okay, so they pushed it back 1,000 years.
A lot of stuff's based on dates that are like way. Do you ever
Way
see
older.
when they get it right with like a dinosaur skeleton? I mean, as far as you know, how like off it is. Somebody did a cool thing where they showed if like you found horse bones, like what the way we draw the dinosaurs, what it would look like. It looks crazy because it's always too tight on the skeleton. You know, there's not enough like meat built on it in most of the conceptions.
Right. We have no idea what they like. Imagine what a T-Rex actually looks like.
I like to look for the updates of like what they, because even they had a good like dinosaur show I liked at the time on Discovery or something, but even those are all like.
Well, they don't have feathers either. They think a lot of them had feathers now.
But not T-Rex is the last I heard on.
Really?
That's the last thing that I heard looking it up. But that
They
was
don't
like,
think he had feathers?
no, and it's because there's a patch of the skin pressed up on something where you can see it's not.
Oh.
Is that it? I just was looking up some article. This is kind of recent.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
I don't know if this was a T-Rex they found specifically.
So it says, hard to imagine this animal died 76 million years ago. It's been perfectly preserved since then, and just happened to be starting to erode out of this cliff when we were walking by. Wow. That's fucking nuts.
Because you've really only seen a fraction of all the stuff that there was. Because fossils are kind of rare.
Look at that. So these guys are seeing this stuff erode, and then they find it there.
Yep.
How much more? Yeah, how much more of that is there? That's what's nuts. Like, what percentage of the fossil record is really accurate in terms of like how many species are out there that haven't been discovered?
It's like a fraction of what it is. Like,
I wonder, like, what other dinosaurs existed that they haven't found a body yet?
Because a lot, only animals that have bones like that can be preserved are gonna be preserved.
And they have to be caught up in like a landslide or some shit, right?
Yeah, it's real specific. That's why, because you always say it's like a rare process, fossilization, but then you read these stories when they first found them, and they have dinosaur bone wars, and there's like blowing them up in war. Like, who gives a
dudes
shit?
were faking it too. Guys were faking dinosaurs. Yeah, there was some people that faked dinosaurs back in the day.
Yeah, how they put them together wrong and all kinds of hilarious things. There's a whole thing about the first two guys that found dinosaur bones and figured out.
Can you imagine being the first guy to find something that indicates there was giant lizards roaming the earth?
What is this?
Dinosaurs that found a T-Rex and a Triceratops locked in a battle.
Wow. So they're probably fighting to the death and got caught up in a landslide.
Weighs 14 tons.
Holy shit.
You gotta be trained too, because that just looks like someone stepped on a bug to me. That I'm like, wow, you guys.
Look at the ribs, man. Look at that. That's fucking wild.
It also shows you how not Indiana Jones archaeology is, where it's just you gently brushing some dust to get not
very slowly in that case.
Yeah.
To try to find these ancient dead
Like
creatures.
a bullwhip never comes into it.
No need for a satchel.
Well, slow down.
Yeah, he's got an IWC pilot's watch on. Yeah, it's that whole way of like discovering things that used to exist is so crazy if you think about it that way, that it has to die in a very specific way to make a fossil.
There's that one dinosaur that they had in one of the Jurassic Park movies that fights a T-Rex, and they just figured out totally.
They just made one up, right?
Well,
that giant thing.
Yeah.
The raptor is a little made up.
No, well, the raptor, but
are kind of little.
There's another one.
The way that they did it in the movie, yeah, they kind of.
There's another one like a kind of to fight with the T-Rex dinosaur. I'm forgetting what his name is, but they just discovered probably was aquatic, and not how they have it in the movie. It was like right after that, and one of the skeletons got blown up in World War II. That was like the really good skeleton, and then I don't know if they found another one or something, but that's why they didn't know, because it got blown up in the war.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There was a house that was for sale in Malibu. This crazy no, not in Malibu, in Beverly Hills. This crazy fucking house.
Yeah.
And it had a raptor skeleton included in the
purchase. Was that debacle $300 million one?
No, it wasn't that crazy. But it was crazy though. But it was like 30 million crazy. But one of the million and the 30 million was a dinosaur.
I mean,
they had a fucking raptor. You know how dope that would be? Come over my house. Oh yeah, here's a dinosaur.
I mean, it's cool.
Look at that thing.
I'll tell you what, it's more respectable than a $50,000 blunt.
Yeah, that's a little ridiculous. But I think that's $1 million.
Remember Chappelle's show where he had cribs where he's like he has Tyrannosaur eggs. He sprinkles diamonds in it because it makes his dookie twinkle. It was this big. Oh, it smell wild.
Should you be allowed to own a dinosaur? Like, can you sell a dinosaur? Like, how much would it cost to buy a dinosaur?
Why not?
They found some bones, a giant in a guy's backyard. Like, should you be able to keep that?
That's a good question.
Listen,
is that yours?
I don't know if you know, but you could still buy and sell people. Like, why the hell not?
Go to YouTube and look what's going on in Libya.
That's what that was.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Libya, by the way.
We came, we saw.
He asked her about that, by the way, in the Jon Stewart thing.
Really?
With Libya. It's unreal what they're saying. Like, oh, do you just let them kill their own people? They had this highest standard of living in Africa before we helped out.
Oh. Now it's a failed state.
Yeah, now they have slave markets. That's what our
open slave markets that you could watch on YouTube.
And there's no infrastructure. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But there was an infrastructure. They they destroyed it.
But when you have brutal war after brutal war, you have areas of this world where they've been under the control of dictators, and then you just get rid of that dictator. You have all these people that have been living in this brutal scenario with these totalitarian governments and executions and military and
right.
And then another powerhouse just comes in and takes over.
It's like prison gangs taking over. But his thing was, I remember, this is the thing I remember that just there was a moment during the War on Terror that I remember they were kind of rehabbing his image, because he would go on the news and he was saying, like, we need to stop this Islamic terror. He was saying that, and he came to America in his big tent. Everybody talked about it. And he had his, like, those Ukrainian or whatever all-female guard. Remember all this stuff about him when he came in? He was going to go off the petrodollar, which I never even heard of until a couple of years ago. And that's when he had to go. Because they had built him up like he's like an elder statesman and has learned. And next thing you know, it's a bayonet rape.
Dude, the way they killed him, when you see that video, the sheer animalistic terror in his eyes, it's like a scene in a movie. It's so stunning to see a guy who is a dictator getting captured by rebels and murdered right in front of you.
Well, whenever
when they
you
shove
hear
that bayonet up his ass and he doesn't even blink.
I mean, well, I was probably in shock.
He was 100% shocked, but the fact that guy just shoves it up his ass and he's just sitting there.
He's thinking, I should have stayed on that petrodollar.
Oh, yeah. That's the first thing he was thinking. I take
remember
it back.
this story? Because I remember I saw a documentary called The Mad Dog Killer. And I remember seeing one about Saddam Hussein when I was younger. Not that I was a fan of Saddam Hussein, but it was like there's one part where they're talking about his kids, and
murderous sons.
And even his daughter once said to a classmate, "I want to tear the teacher's vagina out." And then they show his daughter. She's like, I don't know, 9 in this thing. She's dancing, and they put it in slow mo. So she's like, like, is this a smear job? As a guy who's not into Saddam Hussein, it seemed a little bit much.
But also probably accurate. You know what the Sons did, right?
Well, that
Sons
devil's
were serial
double,
killers.
that devil's double thing. That guy might be completely full of shit, and I think probably is. You
What
know
is
that
Devil
whole
double?
story about he had to get surgery to look like Uday.
Oh, I did hear about that.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know,
another-
but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking
Oh.
about what they used to do. What Uday and his brother Kusei used to do. They used to kidnap women on their wedding day and feed them to their dogs. They'd rape them
Yeah,
and feed them to their dogs.
I mean,
they did horrific shit.
I have no. Here's why it's easy, like, especially when it's time. Also, Saddam was given the key to the city of Dearborn, Michigan, when I was young. Back when
Was he?
when we liked him when he fought Iran. So I bet they did all kinds of crazy stuff, and we liked him. And all of a sudden, now that we don't like you, now it's a problem that you do this. Is that because there is no? I mean.
That's what's scary, dude, is that how much of the world is under the thumb of a dictator like that?
Most of it, as long as you do business with us how we want you to, you're good, man. That's all you got to do. And then that's like Gaddafi. That's when it becomes a problem. Like, I think that was for France, actually, because some rebels had promised oil. A bunch of his money went to France.
Jesus Christ.
In Haiti now, like, we killed their president. That was news briefly.
Who killed their president?
I think we did.
Are you unsubstantiated allegations on this nationally syndicated program?
Well, I saw it on Breaking Points initially.
What did they say?
They said if something funny was going on and then never talked about it again.
But did they say that we actually executed him?
The guy, when they...
What happened? I'm ignorant to the story.
Okay,
I need to know. You're acting as if this is something that everybody knows about. You don't know about, do you? I think so. No?
Oh, dude. So
what happened?
So one of the guys that got caught, they caught the shooters.
Okay. Haiti president's
Okay, here we go.
assassination, what we know so far.
I wasn't cutting into just showing you the stuff.
So when was he assassinated?
January of this year.
The
Okay.
mercenary.
Death in his private residence in the
last
capital,
year.
Port-au-Prince. Oh, last year.
Last summer.
Plunged the country already suffering. Where does it say? How was he killed? He was shot dead inside his home in the Perlin 5 neighborhood in the hills above Port-au-Prince at 0100 local time on 7 July 2021. According to police, the president was shot 12 times and had bullet wounds to his forehead and several to his torso. His left eye had been gouged out, and bones in his arm and his ankle had been broken. According to one of the judges conducting the investigation, he died at the scene and was found laying on the floor on his back, his shirt soaked in blood. The First Lady, Martine Moise, was also shot but survived.
Wait, where's the guy? But the thing is, the mercenaries, the guy is recorded saying, like, that's the thing to find. That's what I first saw, was that recording, which I saw on Breaking Points. Now,
what recording?
One of the killers was speaking in English and saying, like, I don't even want to quote it. You could probably find it.
Well, we'll find it. Let's find it. That's crazy.
So that's why I first heard about it. So I didn't know Haiti. Did you know this? Like, they're like the only successful
Colombian mercenaries who hired Haiti's Moise, hired by U.S. firm. Holy shit.
Oh, right. They said they were hired. Yeah, right.
Holy shit.
According to leaked audio, yeah.
Dimitri Herard, head of the Haiti Presidential Palace Security Union, visited Colombia 6 times this year from January to May, and his security firm has been linked to CTU Security, the Miami-based security firm that recruited the mercenaries. Jesus Christ. So are people in jail for this? Like, what has happened?
I never heard any more reporting on it for a good long while until the reporting that we just sent a bunch of, like, heavy-duty equipment to quell the protests. I guess they're rioters and bad. But that's the story. But I heard that and then nothing about it.
So a U.S. firm hired the hit people? Is that what they're alleging?
Yeah.
Is that for sure fact?
That's what they're alleging. I mean,
Jesus Christ.
I'm sure you can't say it definitively. I'll say it sounds plausible.
What firm? Whatever.
Well, you outsource. Everything's outsourcing. You get a firm to do a thing, and that's what everybody does. Never mind just like that kind of shit. Just life, just killing people.
What do you think?
Everything.
What was the Haiti president opposed to?
Well, I don't know what this initial one, but basically we get a lot of cheap labor comes out of there. So a while back when Hillary was in, they quelled a thing because they wanted their pays like their sub what our prisoners make.
Here it says Haitian cops parade 2 U.S. mercenaries arrested over Jovenel Moise assassination. Jovenel, how do you say his name? Jovenel Moise.
Jovenel, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I'm acting like I know how to say
assassination. So
Jovenel.
They had 2 U.S. mercenaries.
But Haiti's story, right? They had to pay. They were like the only successful slave revolt, I think, in like history. And they had to pay reparations for rebelling against it. They had to pay for reparations of France until the 80s.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
For rebelling?
They caused them their slaves.
No way.
I look it up if you don't believe me.
How do you sleep at night?
I smoke a lot of weed.
But that's the problem, isn't it? It makes you want to dig into this stuff more.
No, I would say don't dig into any of it, is my advice.
When France extorted Haiti after enduring decades of exploitation at the hands of the French, Haiti somehow ended up paying reparations to the tune of nearly $30 billion in today's money.
Is that you would think that would be a bigger thing.
Whoa.
But there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of, I'm sure, bipartisan interest in keeping it how it is.
Holy shit, dude.
Oh, remember all those Haitian immigrants were coming in? They were saying they were whipping them, but it was like the reins on the guy's horse.
Yeah, that was people at the border. They just had a photo that made it look like maybe he had swung that at somebody, but it was really just the reins.
Everything's
of the
so
horse.
goddamn dishonest, and also
They just want to sell links, right? They
the
just want to sell clicks.
But not like the fact that Haiti paid reparations for not being slaves. Okay, that's like a wild fact that
I didn't know until 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, so instead of making up a whipping thing with a picture, why wouldn't you be talking about real things? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
because you don't give a shit. That's my guess.
I think you might be onto something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Dude, we're like 4 hours in.
Oh shit, we are.
We've been rambling, son.
Yeah, right.
It's good to see you, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you too, man.
We gotta do this more often.
It's a real rabbit hole. It's because I got to work on Jimmy's goddamn show.
Yeah.
And vaguely be aware of.
Talk Jimmy into moving there. Tell him to get out while he can.
I don't know. I have no idea what. I'll ask him. He said what's up, by the way.
Tell him I said what's up too. All right, brother. Always good catching up with you.
I forgot. I'm gonna be at Uncle Vinny's on from
in
the
Point
30th,
Pleasant.
Yeah, to the 30th to the 3rd.
Nice.
And also, me and Colin making new fresh prezes. We gotta make 12.
Oh.
We have a contract, so there's new fresh prezes coming out.
We didn't even talk about those. The Dunnigan stuff that the two of you together are the best combination ever. Those fucking things are so funny, man. They're so
dude,
out there too.
We got yeah, we're having. Do you see we got Seinfeld to do the last one from?
No.
Yeah, Seinfeld did it. He played Sylvester Stallone's celebrity Squid Game to feed a hungry kid. He had to finish Seinfeld lines. He was great. He was like a great sport.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There goes
Yeah.
play it.
Very happy to be on the show.
I thank you kindly, sir. The man who saved NBC. They could use you right now, believe me. All right, now since you're a celebrity, you'll be playing for charity, and your charity's name is Josiah. How you doing, kid?
Forgot to drink a puddle.
So they have to get it right.
Now, here's how you play the.
About to drink a puddle.
Yeah, it's a Squid Game.
Oh Jesus Christ!
So he has to finish his own lines. He won it was a Thanksgiving meal for little Josiah, and then well, watch it. It was actually the game came out really well. We did it with Ryan Flippy too one time.
I'll check it out. It's at Kyle Dunnigan's YouTube page.
Yeah.
Not nearly enough subscriptions on that, or the Instagram one. You guys are hilarious. All right, brother. Well, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Tonight, you're doing Kill Tony. That should be fun.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Yeah. All right.
I got spaced out on this one.
Yeah, well, we got a couple hours. It's only we got time. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Oh, give everybody your social media.
Oh, Kurt Metzger Comedy on Instagram and KurtMetzgerComedy.com, and then Kurt Metzger on Twitter is just my name.
And regularly on the Jimmy Dore Show.
Jimmy Dore Show, Kyle Dunnigan Show.
And both those shows. All right. Bye, everybody.